Why don't we just do that real quick? Because I kind of like that idea more than doing game deving. Game dev is cool, but like I do want to like spend a little time. Honestly, just I need to spend some time looking at. We're just gonna hang out for a bit. Does that sound okay? We'll just do game dev. It ends up being game dev. If it ends up being y'all showing me stuff, we'll end up doing that. Just chatting. That's what I'm gonna set this to. So like what I found, because I found out you can load this on your fucking phone, which is wild. I'm also gonna eat some stuff. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and make a new thread for the thing? Media share thread. New stuff goes here. Thread. Poop. There we go. New thread, or yeah, new thread for the show me stuff. I can look at some of the old stuff here in a minute from the previous ones, but I'm gonna go find this one specific asset that I found, and I think it was called Card UI. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, that's really weird. The card tutorial that I found on my phone doesn't exist for... different repo site? Maybe. Yeah, I wonder what it was called. Because, like, I mean, it's wild to try and program on this tiny little screen. Asset library. Yeah, there's stuff here that's just different. Godot engine.org. Official. What? Like, here, let me, yeah, check that out. You can see the camera's googly eyes. But you see, there's shit here that's just not on. Same category. Yeah, I typed, card in. And it just gives me this one, which is not a thing. Is it a different version number? I mean, I switched it to projects because I wasn't seeing it. Maybe I need to, like, open a project and then open the asset library in here? So I don't know what's going on here, but my phone was doing this one as well. Oh, card parallaxing. Do I want that? I don't think I need that. It's neat though. What are the... Oh, okay. Yeah, check this out. Hmm. All right. I like the way this looks. I like the way they move. I like mousing over them shows that they pop up. You can have text that appears. You can add cards from places. Draw 3 is an option. It has areas that you can put stuff. Clubs go here. That dino sprite from a very specific game, it's probably because it's just, you know. Also, one of these days will bully you into using proper version control, I'm sure. Yeah, they're free to use sample sprites, which is why so to actually be able to do this, I pretty much just need to figure out what the fuck is happening here. So what? What the fuck? Oh, okay. Okay. Get card data, nice name. Super. What the fuck is... What is it? Control click to... Yeah, it looks like files just like defining stuff so far. Nothing that actually makes any of it work. Just say like nice name is like, I think that was in here. So ace of spades rather than just like a texture or whatever. It's like the name of the card. That's fair. I don't know what super does. I guess I should look up C# super. Java uses super. It's a method? Oh, is that in one of these other ones? Like they extends card UI. Oh, okay. Label. Huh. Back face, front face. Label. You're extending card UI, so card UI has the ready, right? So I need to figure out in card UI what is super doing. Because I mean, this looks like it does most of the work for like getting a stack together. And it like shuffles the deck and it has all the cards, and all we'd have to do is really just like change some of the buttons and such. Example, drop zone. Card data dot suit. Okay, yeah, what the fuck is this? Create a script containing card UI data that describes any custom properties that your cards will need. You can utilize inheritance here as needed. Create a JSON database of your card information. And create a JSON collection of your cards. Create a new scene with the root type card UI. It's an object that displays in the game. This object must have two texture rec as children, the front face and the back face, to warn you if you configure it correctly. Okay. Inheritance is extends, right? Yeah. Creating a new scene with the root type card UI. Okay, no. Creating the card pile UI node in your game scene and configure its settings. Begin building your game with the provided methods and signals. Okay, cool. So card pile. I think this is the thing I need to read over, and I think that this is going to be super boring technical shit to read over. But I have this README on my phone, so I can read the documentation for this fairly easily. But not having to figure out how to code a deck, because like what I figured is you'd want to have a function that's like, you know, basically one of these that we've already seen where it's like every card that can be in the deck, and then like every time you need to use the deck, you need to like load that deck list into another thing, another function that's called like deck or something. And that puts all the stuff in there. I realized that I don't really need to have the deck list necessarily, as weird as that sounds, because the deck list is always going to be more or less the same. It's just which, like the deck list is always going to be the same, except for it's going to change what, like, your rod, your lure, and your bait will affect 6 cards each. So hypothetically, say you make a card game with your own custom decks, are you going to manually write all the card entries then? Well, I think what I want to do is like I've got. All right, let's go back to this example here. Because the other example is a little bit more Slay the Spire-ish. Yeah, I think that the deck list is like, it's going to be a list of all the cards in a deck, right? But like, where's example? Okay, cool. So we got how I think I want this to work, and I've been trying to figure out how I want to have the like mechanics of the cards movement work. We need to fix this screen region because it's fuck. But we draw, right? And I want to have 2 different areas. One area where you ask, like, you put it in there, and it's like a that's how you ask for sevens or whatever. And then I want another zone where it's like you activate the ability of the card instead. And we'll have two different areas. Activate the ability will be like over like a fishing tackle box or something to represent you're doing that. And then have the other bit on top of the water, so it represents you throwing your line out there to see if there's any fish of sevens in this example. But also in this example, what I'm trying to say about the deck list versus the deck. So the deck list has 7 of diamonds and 6 of spades. The deck does not currently, because they're out, right? In the same way, it no longer has the jack of spades in the deck. The doc said you can define mechanics of the cards and shit. Just look up for a spot for the trigger. Right, yeah. And that's what I'm thinking. Because I'm not really sure how you're supposed to, like... The cards are going to look different than playing cards, which is a little weird. And I'm not sure if, like, I need to have suits, all things considered, considering I'm only going to be using half the deck. So, you only need to pick up one. Anyway, this is what I'm thinking the cards look like. Go ahead and... Got a big old area for like an image up top. In this case, it's the 4. And then it says both draw 2 and then both discard 2. So if you wanted to use it as the 4, you would drag it to one spot. And if you want to use the bottom part, you drag it to another spot. So but then that area where the 4 is can be used for the different characters as well. So when they have a face card, I'm thinking that it'd be very cool to have it so that way their face cards like change what the symbol looks like depending on how things are going with that character. So yeah, it looks like there's drop zones for each of the things. Okay. Yeah, all these buttons seem to make sense. Right? Like draw pile, like, so we already have this as a thing. So draw pile UI. So when it's written out like this is like a thing that you've figured out over here. Also, we can't see, sorry. Hey, how you doing? What is this? Phoenix goes to Britain or doesn't. Oh, okay. Just got back from the doctor. Welcome back. Discard a random card. Okay. Are we making games? Right now, I'm just looking over the code that someone did for this. I think that... Function, move club to diamonds. If top card in drop zone equals club's drop zone, get top card. If top card in drop zone, variable, move club to diamond pressed. Yeah, we're looking at the framework that someone else did. Remove random card in hand if game pressed. I'm not entirely sure how to have a separate hand for the opponent, though, but I think that needs to be like a separate... Where is the hand being handled? Sort hand. Card pile UI. Card pile UI. Simple card power. Here's the thing that I was trying to find. Okay, all right. And what are you here? No idea what that is. All right, looking at the script. Programming's all about not reinventing the wheel if you can avoid it. Target front face texture string. Target back face texture string. Variable is clicked equals false. Mouse is hovering equals false. Target possession is vector is 0. Return speed 0.0. Hover distance 10. Function get class return card UI. Signal card hovered card is the card UI. Okay. Yeah, I think I just like sit and look at this thing for like an hour. Are you gonna do your own card game? Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, maybe we do a game jam next month. You guys down for that? Like a month-long game jam? I think that could be cool. Sure? Okay. No prizes or anything. It's literally just like, stop freaking out and let's just make a game. Do you right-click the name, will it jump to its definition? Let me figure out where card UI is. Lookup symbol? No. You never got back into Rev Spooky Stories games, whatever. Yeah, Mike was doing something as soon as I got like settled in here in Maine, so I was like, should I really fight him on that? All right, reset target positions, card drop zones. This node must have 2 texture rect as children. Card UI data. Icon.png? But that's just you want the card UI in green, right? Enter tree and exit tree. I don't know how trees work yet, so I'm gonna have to look into that as well. Card UI. Okay, nothing there. Huh. And then we have all the clubs and the cards and such. And they're all PNGs? White circle, screenshot, enemy crab, enemy bee, spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs, attack. Okay. The yellow here is a string, right? That's what we're looking at, is draw pile updated /in. What is the /in doing here? Is that like a line return? So draw pile updated is a string that it's saying. In is new line. All right, so oh, okay. And then percentage %s is going to be, is this just saying percentage is card where the card is the card? I mean, this is card data nice name. So the card data nice name is just like Queen of Spades or whatever. The card is, do we have like card as a thing? Just card, not card UI, but card. C printing style looks like. Yeah, I think that these are all just like debug things to let you, yeah, signal debugger. So we don't really need this, but it's nice to have. We could delete this at some point, but we can keep it for now. What's going on here? This node must have 2 faces. What are you? Can you comment it out if it's not needed? Yeah. Well, right now it's telling me right now, if you like, it's this here. Ace of Diamonds hovered, unhovered. Clicked, unhovered, dropped, clicked, unhovered. Move jokers, move all top cards, draw a random discard hand. Cool. I mean, like, I think I can make this work. I'm gonna go get like a handful of nerds, and then we're gonna stop programming, and instead we're gonna look at whatever crap y'all just sent me. So we'll be right back with that. I have a new thread going on the Discord, so if you want to post stuff in there, go for it. Yeah, that comment section I'll just leave there for now. I'll be fast. 2 minutes, BRB. Plate. Water, we're good on. All right, I'm back. Do I not have a Patreon command? That's weird. Huh. Well, let's look at the stuff that people sent. Starting with this proto-Germanic farming technology or terminology sent by Orthogonal Caster.
I'm interested in the reconstructed language Proto-Germanic for a lot of reasons. One of those is that I'm interested in the fact we can hear a language, or something close to a language that was spoken in the Iron Age and barely written down. And I'm especially interested in the sensitivity of the vocabulary we can pick up. So all languages have rich vocabularies, and in this video I'm going to combine reconstructed Proto-Germanic farming vocabulary
That's a bit low, yeah,
with what we know about farming in the area and time period when Proto-Germanic was spoken. There isn't necessarily a one-to-one correlation between these farming practices and the Proto-Germanic language. Many people who farmed in this way may not have spoken Proto-Germanic, and many people who spoke Proto-Germanic may not have farmed in this way. But I think the geographic and temporal ranges overlap enough that this isn't a completely useless thought exercise. But bear in mind, this is more of a theoretical connection rather than, you know, these people wrote in Proto-Germanic and wrote how they farmed, because there's next to no writing in Proto-Germanic. At the time Proto-Germanic was spoken, farming was very, very well established in Scandinavia, so although there is evidence of hunting and obviously fishing to supplement farming, the majority of people's food was probably coming from farming at this point, and had been coming from farming for a very, very long time already. We'll start with words for different types of grain. A research report by
I will say this one's a little long,
if I've mispronounced that
but
name,
it is interesting.
Archaeological evidence for cereal crops in Iron Age.
This is like something that Orthogonal's super into, is like language stuff.
Is about when we'd expect something like reconstructed Proto-Germanic to be spoken.
Are the audio levels better now?
A pretty good bet for an area where it was spoken. The study showed that the dominant crop throughout this period was something that Proto-Germanic speakers might have called baras, or gersto, barley. Specifically hulled barley, which is more nutritious than the naked variety of barley that had been more common in the Bronze Age. A study by Engelmark suggested that people preferred hulled barley.
You know, this is absolutely something I would watch off stream, but on stream it feels a little weird. That is actually my take on it as well. This is not a bad video, and it's neat, but also it's very dry. Very dry information. We might just switch up to a different one. I'm sorry, man. We got this one from this is from a channel called Night Shift, and it's they're painting a I need to get some paint, man. Next time I have money again. Like next paycheck.
Another Friday, another model, and surprise, surprise, it's not gonna be a tank. But don't let the box confuse you. It's not gonna be a military staff car either. No, I'm gonna build it into a regular civilian Volkswagen Beetle. And
right.
The only reason I went with this kit is because the hoods and doors are made as separate parts.
Right.
And because it comes in 1/35 scale, so the model is super tiny and cute. Well, as you guessed from the thumbnail, the Beetle is not gonna be in showroom condition, and at first I thought I'd need just the main body, which would be pretty cool, right? I mean, who wouldn't enjoy?
I believe
a model
this is the same one as the tank from last time.
Painting immediately, at least every once in a while.
Cleaning off the flash.
I didn't come here to glue parts together, and I'm certainly not gonna bore you with that. So let's instead
use
focus
like the
on
edge of
the
your
most
knife
important
when
aspect
so
of
like
any
when you fill stuff in with like a lot of like plastic stuff is done through plastic injection molds. So you have like a mold, but like the like obviously there's a bit that just goes out the sides. Like try and remember when you were playing with Play-Doh and you'd put it in a mold and you'd squish it and then you'd open up the mold and there'd be like some around the outside of like the actual bit you'd want to make the mold. It's called flash. It's just like a thing that happens in the process of printing plastic. You get this little extra line, which is like kind of where the two molds meet, and a little bit slips out. And you got to inject enough that it actually does that line for reasons. Else you have an empty injection spot and it looks awful. Cleaning off the lines is a bitch and really hard to get to it sometimes, depending on where they are. So it's generally a thing that in models and model kits, they just expect you to figure it out yourself.
car that's been
And
left
so you just take the edge of your
outside,
knife and just
adding
drag it along the
damage to
side and it'll
thin
clear it
metal
all off
parts.
super easy.
Some modelers who build abandoned cars in 1/24 scale tend to replace plastic parts with handmade metal ones, made from sheet metal foil, but I think in this scale, and for the purposes of a quick, relaxing build, thinning the plastic will suffice. A ball burr is an excellent tool for this,
Thinning the
and the round shapes
plastic?
of the beetle make the process even more straightforward. It's easy to grind all the way through, and to avoid this, I place the model against the light source, and once I can see the light shining through, I know it's more than enough.
It looks like you put a couple
With the
holes on the other
plastic
side
being
though.
paper thin, it's now easy to add some panel lines with a razor saw. I mean, well, that would be easy anyway, but separating the fenders from the main body, that's a different story. Adding dents is very easy, and the thin plastic behaves almost like real metal. It just tends to return back to its original shape, so when you imagine working with metal, you gotta be very gentle there because a little goes a very long way, and with plastic it's the opposite. You gotta be very brutal because the plastic doesn't care about your intentions, it just wants to retain its original shape. As such,
this is like a really solid way of dealing with that. I was wondering why it was thinning the plastic,
it's also good for
but that
smoothing
works.
out any surface imperfections and reinforcing cracks that might occur around sharp dents.
Right.
The roof was more difficult because it's a large flat surface, and I tried cheating a little by heating it up with a Dremel blowtorch, and then quickly but gently pressing it down. I know it's not completely realistic, but it's good enough.
Yeah, alright.
The rubber wheels can be aged
Heating
as well.
always does the trick.
It's just a very messy process. I sanded the pattern down and then cleaned up the fuss with glue. and there was a lot of fuss.
Right.
Again, not perfect, but I think it'll do. There wasn't much detail to add because of the small scale, so I only resorted to some simplified window frames or, I don't know, whatever they are.
Sure.
These were made from LED strips and LED wires.
Oh, yeah, I guess it could be.
Tamiya putty was applied
looks
to
really
blend
good
them
like
in
that.
with the car body. And yes, I know that
Did you already
car
watch Second
models
Delivery?
are
I did
all
not
about
know.
smooth and glossy finishes, but I'm an Arma modeler.
We should
and I
watch
love
the,
adding textures, even if
Scratch
they are
bashing
very
video
smooth.
as well. That
But,
guy's really
I mean,
good.
check it out. A barely noticeable texture will make the chipping process easier, and also it helps to clean up and unify the dented surface.
Yeah,
It's gonna be fine, trust me.
I think it will be.
So that's the build finished.
And
There
that's just
wasn't
like a
much to
random
do,
rag or
because
something
this
you've
was
put
my
on the
first
roof?
experience with a non-armor model. I was often left scratching my head thinking if this is good enough,
Right.
or if I should add or modify
I have not watched
something.
if the Emperor has a
I
text-to-speech
just added
device.
tarp sculpted from epoxy putty, and some detailing was done on one of
Oh,
the
that's
doors.
good. I like that.
Nothing too complicated or fancy, so let's get it ready for painting because that's where the fun's at least during this project. This is a total shocker. I know that nobody who's been watching this channel would expect a black primer, but it's what it is. This is one of those cases where a dark brown primer would be better, but it's not gonna be a big deal at all. We'll
Yeah.
make it work somehow. As long as it gives us those fake shadows, then everything's gonna be good. We need a solid rusty base coat, and for that, I started
I
by
wish I
spraying
had a,
most of the car with diluted
Fred's
flat
in a couple
brown.
of the Emperor
The point is to cover most of the
text-to-speech
surface
videos.
while letting the black peek through here and there, and also letting those artificial
kinda wish I had
shadows take shape.
a spray
because
brush like
then
this.
we can feel like real artists. Tonal variation is easily achieved by adding yellow to brown. This way we can not only break
It's
the
so
surface
much easier
apart,
to
but
do
also
effects like this,
post-shade the
this
model.
rush thing
I
that he's
know,
doing.
Post-shading a rusty base coat means you're really gotta love the method, but hey, it is possible. I noticed some grayish stains in some of my reference pictures, and my guess is metal that wasn't completely rusted out yet.
Right.
It's a quick job and it adds even more visual interest. And lastly, some remnants of oxide primer were applied here and there. Again, observed in references. So that's the rusty base coat. It's better to keep it rather dark and don't
I like
spend
that he
too
does
much
his
time on
base
it,
coat
because very
as his
little will be
primer.
visible in the end.
Like, that's
I gave
so
the model
good.
2 generous coats of chipping fluid, letting each layer to dry. And this way, you'll get a nice, uniform layer of the stuff.
I did get a new
Once it
haircut,
was
but it's the
dry, I
same.
could
I just
apply
haven't
the main
combed it
body
much today.
color. I chose an off-white sort of faded tone by adding a drop of dark yellow into pure white.
He's
I
so
painted the model
good.
in sections
He is so
because
good.
This way I can stay focused on one part of the model at a time. Note that varying the thickness of the paint has a significant impact on the chipping. For example, I knew there would be a large rusted out stain on the hood, so I gave that area a very light mist of white, while the other sections were covered in a more opaque layer. This will give you pretty good control over the effect, and surprisingly, from what I observed in references, most rotting cars are not too rusty at all. That didn't stop me from having fun though.
Yeah.
Luckily, if you're not happy with this chip or that one over there, a quick blast from the airbrush will make your problem disappear.
Exactly.
When it comes to chipping, there's always a discussion about what's too much, right? Certainly, there's a threshold where it's too much even on a rotting car, but the good thing is, you can get away with a lot. Now I had to seal the paint job with flat VMS varnish, mainly to protect the chipping fluid and lock the finished chips in place. Another coat of the chipping potion, and this time I mixed a very pale blue, spraying it on the fenders and one of the doors. I was kinda torn between a completely white or completely pale blue car, and
I kinda like
just
the
couldn't
white.
decide, so to make both of my hemispheres satisfied, I merged the two ideas into one. Creating multiple layer chipping is not as easy as it looks on paper, because it's very hard to match the shape and location of the previous chips, but it's a fun process and the results are cool nonetheless. So this is our chipped base coat, and it will be pretty much ready for weathering, but because I'm very much into post shading, I decided to mess around with ammo shaders. I find it quicker to establish the vibe of the model with
that kind of off-white
because,
yellow white
sure, subtle
is
tones
perfect.
of rust and moss can be added with a paintbrush, but I think this makes the finish even richer. If nothing else, it's a quick way of establishing various areas of interest.
Right.
For example, if I add a rusty gradient here or there, I'll know to focus on that area with enamel rust tones. And after all, as you'll see in just a moment, a post-shaded and chipped surface doesn't need too many weathering steps at all. So yeah, the model looks like this after all the airbrush work. I sealed the shaders with another layer of flat varnish, and the finish is very soft and sort of artificial looking, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that the overall vibe of decay and rot is
Yeah, it makes the
already there.
pieces look like they were taken
let's
from
now
other
grab
cars.
those paintbrushes. I started the fine treatment by painting all the details. Luckily, there are very few of them. Just some door handles, window frames, tarps, well, one tarp, and that door cushioning, right? And some extra dry brushing and rubbing with a dark rusty color on some of the large chips, and especially sharp edges.
I would love to get into
But the real
Gaslands.
fun begins with enamel
Because, like,
washes.
Gaslands, you can just, like, bring a handful of Micro Machine or, like, Hot Wheel cars. I'd feel a lot better walking down the street with, like, Hot Wheels in my pockets than, like, all of my Warhammer dudes. Because,
Winter Streaking
Yeah.
Grime is a perfect choice for this kind of subject because it's a dark, well, brown, grayish, greenish mixture. And I mean, nothing adds to the rotting feeling more than that. The flat varnish means we can easily
Hot Wheels
blend
are
the
always...
pin wash
Well, I
out.
mean, like, if someone stops you on the street and they're like, I'm going to rob you, right? They're not going to be like, give me your Hot Wheels, right? Just add a few Hot Wheel bits, and paint is way cheaper than a whole ass Warhammer army. Yeah, I think that Castlands is mostly about like doing kit bashing. Doing the models is actually probably Gaslands is like a car combat game where you add guns and then you have I don't know.
Word. Adding
Give me your
subtle
Warhammer
staining,
nerd. Nah,
shadows,
I found out
or
that CSM's not
even
that bad
shrinking
right now, and I was able to
It's
get it to
funny
work.
because I'm used to spending a few hours with this method on tanks, but here it was just a matter of, well, I don't know, half an hour. The point is, it wasn't too much. It's one of the most satisfying techniques ever, especially when applied over a chipped and
That looks
post-shaded
very
model,
painterly,
because
that
it suddenly gives
rug
it a
tarp
sharp,
thing.
crispy look, bringing every surface detail to life. The same goes for rust effects. Although there's a ton of chipping and exposed rusty areas on this model, I didn't go over each chip like I usually do. That's mainly because there are a few very large rusty areas on this car, and those make it very obvious.
Do you want
that
TikTok
the
brain
vehicle is
content?
rusted out.
Oh.
And as I already mentioned,
Weird
a lot of
TikTok shit would be
references
good
show
too,
cars
yeah.
beaten up,
I mean, this is
rotten,
interesting. I
chipped,
like this stuff.
decaying, but not dripping with rust. Yeah, this was just a ton of fun. I only needed
I mean,
to
it
paint
looks
for
beautiful.
and
It
now
looks
we
just
can
like a
finish the model
beat up
with the
fucking
most
shitty ass
unique
rusty card.
aspect, natural debris and moss. Here are the materials.
Dirt.
From my garden, dry leaves crushed through a sieve, some dried roots for branches and stuff, and fine turf from woodland scenics for the moss. I started in the interior because I wanted to put the model together as soon as possible. And that's actually a great thing because the inside is usually packed with this stuff. Basically, we're creating groundwork on the model and inside the model. So the techniques are the same as when creating a diorama.
This
or
thing
a
is
vignette.
on. Welcome,
The
Dead Author
combination of
Streams. How you
fine
doing?
dust, crushed leaves and some twigs was fixed in place with VMS ballast freeze. And as always,
yeah.
I
You
made
should
sure to
definitely
wick
cook
the
all of
excess
this,
glue away,
because, like, yeah.
otherwise it will leave a visible residue. Once the scatter was dry, I added random droplets and larger blobs of thick PVA
Oh, that's glue. I thought that was
These were
cum.
then sprinkled with the woodland scenic stuff, and the excess was blown away with an airbrush. Everything could now receive an extra coat of
It's
flat
so
varnish,
good,
as
man.
This would hide the
This is
glossy
so
tag
good.
marks from the glue, and also sort of protect the rich color of the natural materials, especially the dry leaves. The painting was, well, okay. Here I was testing stuff. So I wasn't quite sure how to proceed with this kind of weathered finish, but I quickly learned that enhancing it with enamel earth colors and extra pin washes wasn't too necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it makes it look better, but not by much.
Like, can you
What
honestly
does make
tell?
sense is integrating the moss using paints. Very diluted golden olive
There
from
you
Vallejo
go.
is my go-to paint for moss. And the application is very simple, as the foamy material absorbs the watery paint very easily.
I see.
I know, but don't worry, it turns darker when it dries. But also, one of my favorite enamel products is slimy grime, and it's probably the most valuable weathering effect on a subject like this. I applied it around the moss, blending it even further with the surrounding area, and also applied
But yeah,
the
you
paint
got to make
as a
sure that
pin
you
wash in some
like
areas.
cook
The
all of
result
the
is
stuff that
very
you're going to
nice
put on
and
your model,
vivid,
so you don't get
although I can make it, well, even more
germs and
contrasting,
actual
so it will
mold
be
growing
very
on your
visible.
models.
Because after gluing the floor in place, only hints of the finish are gonna be seen through the busted windows.
Yeah.
Weathering on the outside was done in the same fashion, just on a much bigger scale.
Right.
This is the step I was looking forward to the most, but when it was time to pull it off, it was a bit scary, I'm gonna admit.
Yeah. You could fuck up
I didn't
everything.
want to hide all the previous effects, you know, especially the heavy rusted out roof. Although my main reference picture had the beetle completely overgrown by moss. Like,
Right.
the entire roof was just moss. Yeah.
I like that he's
But
dented the
let
roof
me also
down
tell you
because
that I
it's like
always wanted
the
to
weight
build
of
a
the
model
moss
like
and
this,
stuff, and the
especially
leaves have
after
like
famous Scandinavian
weighted down.
modeler Per Olav Lund started making civilian-themed dioramas with this decaying theme. I was maybe 16 years old when he made his diorama called Left to Rot, and I remember how I tried doing something similar, although with my limited budget and resources, I was trying to use an old hull from a tiger, and my version of moss was baking soda painted green.
beautiful.
And I was also planning to use some photo-etched ferns that I won on a modeling show. Well, needless to say, the project was a failure,
Yeah.
and it ended in a trash can, like so many experiments in my past.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Anyhow, what struck me with Per Olav's dioramas was the vivid green moss.
I can't believe this
pretty much
hasn't made its way into my
all
recommended.
plant
Night
life
Shift,
painted in
yeah.
vibrant colors.
Night Shift
It
is
creates
cool.
so
Like,
much
I'm not familiar with this
contrast
stuff. I do a lot of
the rusty
Warhammer
vehicles.
stuff.
If possible, it's
Not
best
on
to
stream
paint it
usually,
with
just
an
because I don't have a
airbrush.
great setup
Although
for
in
it.
my case, I
But-
wasn't totally convinced with the result, so I once again resorted to slimy grime.
Slime
and
grime.
tried to sort of, blend it more with the car's body. Actually, sliming the life out of everything was my favorite job.
Oh
on this
yeah, I'm
project,
sure that like
because
that.
so far my canvas for such effects was wooden doors, rocks, and old wood in my dioramas. So far I just wasn't able to paint large areas or streaking effects of the greenish stuff, and I absolutely loved every second of it.
Yeah,
Anywho,
that's
that
neat.
concludes the beetle. It might be more stylistic than realistic.
I think it's pretty.
Some would definitely say cartoonish or over
I don't
the
think
top.
it's
But you know what?
cartoonish.
I'm
That
fine
looks
with
legit.
because I've been trying to push my painting towards the stylistic spectrum for a while, and with this model, my main point of interest was the vivid moss. But the model alone
I love
would
how
look out of place.
just
Now,
grungy
so
it looks.
Let's make a quick vignette for it. My last diorama had an oval base, and for this scene I went with a circle. It's very easy to cut when your foam cutter has a circular jig. It's basically a metal pin where you impale the foam, set the diameter, and then you just turn it around until you make a full circle. But there's also a specific reason for a circle, because unlike other shapes, it has no front, back, left or right, suggesting that this scene is meant to be observed from all angles. I wanted the forest floor to be rather smooth, so I just quickly added a hint of terrain with the hobby blade. The center of the scene is gonna be flat, but it's gonna look like the terrain is actually undulating. Because there are no terrain features, I could cover the foam with a thin
Yeah, all right.
layer
I
of
need to get
pyramid
subscribed to
mud
this
clay.
dude as well.
This is a very sticky compound and it takes a while to dry, but that can be used to our advantage. While
'Cause
it
you
was
can just,
still
like-
fresh, I sprinkled the entire surface with fine dust from my garden. This will give it a more natural looking texture, but also create a protective crust of sorts on the surface. What's the reason for that? So I could immediately press the beetle into the ground. In any other case, I would have to wait for a while until the clay would start to dry. And now the car will fit exactly in place each time I put it off.
I
Trying
see.
to work as efficiently as possible, I soaked the dusty surface with alcohol, which breaks the surface tension, and then quickly added a lot of diluted PVA glue.
Like the amount of
My goal was to
expertise
finish
this
the
guy
base
dude
in 1 day,
has.
so I tried to reduce the amount of time that's usually required for things to dry. Being efficient also means there would be no wooden veneer on the sides. Luckily, the cut in the foam was pretty smooth, so I only had to apply 2 generous coats of thick household acrylic paint. This would fill the porous surface,
Yeah,
resulting
that's gonna
in
be
a
fine.
smoother, although not totally perfect finish. But that's okay, quick fun projects don't have to be excellent. And, well, like I said, waiting for things to dry is no bueno.
Also, what
so
is
I
that-
made this ghetto, fast.
Where do you live? What the fuck is this room? Why do you live like this? Here, yeah, dude, this is like fucking bunker. This is the bunker that they're gonna start filming the casting couch from when the apocalypse happens.
Curing station. Moving on with the forest floor, I added a whole bunch of different twigs and broken roots, fixing them in place with superglue. Forests are usually covered with dead plant life, be it leaves from trees or small withering undergrowth. This is why making your own ground scatter is so useful, because sometimes you need a ton of the stuff, and it's free if you make it yourself. I glued it in place with gravel and sand fixer because, unlike PVA glue or ballast freeze, this one is alcohol based and it has no surface tension. But also, it dries much faster and leaves no residue.
Oh.
Here's how the result looks once the fixer has evaporated. And
I mean,
the
it looks
surface
great.
is so convincing that this is gonna be the first time when, wait for it, I'm not gonna paint the ground.
Yeah, you don't need to,
Well,
man.
that certainly doesn't mean I won't find something to paint. And what's a better canvas for your creativity than thick carpets of moss? Here it needed
He's just
a
like,
more
I'm having so much
thoughtful
fun
approach
making
than on the
moss.
car. So I started on the fallen tree logs because I knew for
He just
certain
wanted to
that
add more
these
moss.
would be overgrown.
That's
with
the only
stuff.
reason he's doing this
Once
project
those
is
were
because he
done,
wants to paint
I had a
moss.
better idea about the ground, what shapes to make, how large and random they should be, and, you know, the works. Working with crushed foam is pretty much the same as static grass. You just don't need a static grass applicator. But everything else,
I mean, you can
including
see
the
some really
removal of
big
the
old
excess,
clumps
is
there where you
exactly
put the
same.
dots down.
Here's something I did on the car's
Oh, okay, you
roof
did
as
it several
well.
times, okay.
If you want a thicker buildup, you're gonna apply several layers of foam until you're satisfied with the volume. It's shapes like this that make painting, especially the airbrushing part, worth the effort. Okay, it doesn't look like much, so keep this image in mind for a while. I'm gonna paint
I
some
mean,
of
like,
the clumps
painting
to
the
look like
stuff to
moss,
make it more
others
vivid
that are
looks
further from the
great.
car, like generic forest undergrowth. I can't stress enough how vital it is to paint crushed foam. It absorbs diluted paints really well, so you can be generous with the application, and any excess is easily blended into the surface with tap
Airbrush
water.
for blowing stuff is
That's
very
also
smart.
what blends the moss with the ground. It's that
I love that, yeah.
smooth color transition. Adding more tones is not a
'Cause it's
problem
just
either,
pressurized air.
because once the foam is soaked, it accepts
He
additional
loves his
paints
moss. He doesn't
really
get to
well.
play with moss ever. He was
Airbrushing
talking
works
about
as
that.
a form of pose shading because you can make smooth color gradients and apply the brightest, most vivid tones towards the top, and the textured foam will cast its own shadows, resulting in a more plump looking moss carpet. So that's the bottom layer mostly finished. I'll make some final adjustments once the remaining vegetation is in place. And speaking of more vegetation, it was done from paper plants. Luckily I bought a ton of these over time, so there was plenty to choose from. I gave them more color variation with an airbrush using similar but not the same colors. Because, you know, there's always some variation in vegetation.
Does
but
this guy do
we need
commissions?
to
I'm
find
sure he
that
does.
sweet balance, so nothing will look out of place. In my case, it was spraying them with different greens highlighted with yellow, and to knock that vividness down a notch, I gave them a quick splash of Tamiya yellow-green, which is a rather dull-looking paint. Wow. There's also the everlasting problem of when enough is enough.
What is this for? This is just like a little thing that he's making. It's like an art piece. It's just like a thing. It's not for a game. It's just like, look at this neat little model.
Very tempted to make this forest as rich as possible. Reference pictures came in handy, and I kept the plant life rather restrained. Because there's virtually no grass growing in forests,
right.
I tried something else. So it's an airbrushed paintbrush, and it's a great source of long stalks. There's always some kind of weird, thin,
that's really cute,
tall plant life in the undergrowth, so I added a bunch of those.
Well, he's placing the leaves as like plants.
Although I'm not sure what they're supposed to be. Also, a small touch of orange-brown on some of the leaves, and other, fresher leaves received a coat of wet effects fluid, giving them a shinier, more lifelike or livelier look. Finally, the glossy household paint was covered with very thick, very generous coat of VMS flat varnish, and because shading the sides is usually the last thing I do, I considered it a final dot after this chapter and called it done. Well,
I mean, I think it looks great.
This was something different, and I hope you've enjoyed
I
it.
loved him using the brush
had a lot
as
of passion for this little scene.
a tool,
it's something
or not as a tool, but as like a thing
to
to
tanks and military dioramas. So it's a bit of a gamble as a video.
The amount of commitment makes me squirm in shame.
Is good.
I mean, like, look, everyone's got their thing that they're passionate about. A lot of y'all like video games, and you play a lot of video games. This guy's passion appears to be making, model making. It's just the commitment to making this thing. This is also his job, probably. Like he probably does like a Patreon or something along those lines. Speaking of Patreon, Twitch is about to update their mobile pricing. Patreon and Ko-fi are both options that exist. Patreon.com/RevScarecrow if you want to donate $5 or more. It's going up. Well, they're actually making it go up now. It's like going to be like $7-8 or whatever. I'm not a fan of that, so I'm not updating the price on yeah, I mean, like, if you're gonna buy on mobile, but just don't buy on mobile, just like go to the desktop version. I know, I've got a pile of shame too. It's like a squad of cultists that don't have the arms, and I have to repaint them. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, do not redeem, like, don't try and buy yourself a subscription on mobile. Like, wait until you get home. Like, it'll be cheaper. But if you want access to the Discord and you don't want to pay $7 at all, ever, anywhere, the Patreon will do it. We're gonna look at this.
Yep, that is a looted Tyranid. But why? And also, how did Bill get my phone number?
Hello? Is that Scratchy Bastion?
I need to build a big boy Tyranid body. The way they do it at Games Workshop is with a big pile of cardboard, so I follow that process. Glue
really?
Pistolette glue. Once the cardboard outline is perfect, I
so this guy's really good at making models. His painting isn't as good as the other guy, but check this shit out.
Oh, that's right. This guy is part of the Bill Making Stuff's big bot bash collab, where you roll a few dice to determine the features of a robot. I don't know where to get a 20-sided die, or if that even exists, so I have to get help from AI. Number.
Oh, come on, man.
Carapaste. The stir sticks mark out the peaks. Then I plan where the vents or spines will go. Every good Tyranid has vents. I add more sticks to mark out the peaks, then I file them down to get closer to the final shape. A bit more foil.
North of the border as well? Is he another guy who does...
Once that's dry, I do some carving and modeling and even more spackling. I really glop it on to fill out the shape, and since it's so easy to carve and shave after the fact, you really can't go wrong. Carving and sanding it down. Next is the chimneys or spines.
We're gonna skip forward a bunch just because I want to show you guys like where this goes.
Get a couple of overlapping pipe blobs and then the standard banding made from soap pump tube donuts. That piping looks good, all going in the same direction. Let's follow that. And we arrive in Symmetry Town, where I add some slightly symmetrical elements to give a bit of balance.
He likes
despite the
to.
chaotic
So this guy
working
is really good at scratch
to
building,
cover things
which
and
is
some
where
binding support
you're not
pieces up here.
using model
What did I
parts.
roll
You're
for
using parts
hands?
from like
Printer plastic and other weathered
printers
chunks get added to extend
whatever.
the holder zone into the derriere. Flank slab and plastic cap.
He
converted
does
into
a
buttocks,
lot of
tank
orc
detail,
vehicles as a
along with
result.
plastic hinge, which leads into weathered chunks traveling upstream from derriere to deca. Tube break, tube, panel, their darkest secret. Don't worry, Hannah. James' workshop wouldn't dare enter my lab. Okay, well, we better cover that up. I can't be seen showing preferential treatment. Okay, maybe just a little bit. Shh, that's our secret. I lay down a nice coat of yellow on the thighs, and using my custom sponge brush, I add some caution stripes. Wait, that means if you get stepped... leave a comment if you know what that means. Ooh, and on the forehead too. Hey, now if you get rammed, it's... well, you know, brass on some gubbins and pipes, and then a nice dark wash to begin the red panel tinting. Let that flow down. Roll out the... roll out the rust wash, now with even more rust. It's all fried.
But like, look at this. This is none of this is like actual Warhammer pieces.
No, you. You can even loot this video's comment section with the heart and find a negative comment and reply no you. Or you can leave a negative comment. See if I care. I do care. Please subscribe. I love you. Goodbye.
That's great. Congrats on your communist MILF game. Thanks. It was have you seen the guy making the 7-foot Titan from scratch? Yeah, it's good. I wish I was artistically talented. Well, I mean, talent is just applied skill. So give it a go. This channel is really cool. I love art in all its forms. I same, yeah, and that's kind of my jam. And I think it's why I got into Warhammer. It was like it's all the nerdy shit I like, all the stats and all the that kind of crap. But also,
oh my God, Becky, look at their butts. In this episode of Parodies of Craft, I'm making some monsters or horrors for the Doomed, a tabletop skirmish game by Chris McDowell.
All right, I just want to see what they look like to see if they're like any good.
Let's check out the results. Thanks so much for watching. And thanks to the early supporters of Parodies of Craft. Your support makes this project possible. If you'd like to support the channel and the tabletop RPG stuff I do,
that's very whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, doodle when you can, man. How was it? Yeah, dude, Cobalt Core is great. If you like FTL and you like Slay the Spire, it's mostly like Slay the Spire, but it's got a little bit of FTL vibe. I think that you would enjoy it. I'm hyped for the new Kill Team thing. I don't think I will print anything, but I think that I'm probably just going to end up doing a lot of Kill Team and then playing Warhammer Online, which means I probably don't need my models anymore, but maybe I get a game in every now and then. I don't know. Let's see what the other things that people have sent. Coling Critic episode 8. Seven years ago. All right.
Thank you to... Actually, nobody wanted this. Welcome to Conlang Critic, the show that gets facts wrong about your favorite conlang. I'm Jan Measley, and in this episode, we'll be looking at the useless language worth less than $10, K-pop. Actually, K-pop isn't the full name. It's an official name, but it's really just a shorter version of Kedan Sanap Vlirsang Esu Vomnag Vlimke Snakega Bap Vegdaf Shofkom Vlimga Vlimga, which I am not saying again. The name itself is highly descriptive. The first word means language, but with added suffixes that cause it to specifically mean...
What the fuck is this?
Limited, expected, inedible, undying, epic language worth less than $10. The second word is an adjective, which can mean several things, but here means far less useful than average. It could also mean far more useful than average, but it probably doesn't.
Oh. This is a language. Could use some more volume? Yeah, let me turn it up a bit. Colang is constructed language.
I'm getting ahead of myself. K-pop is an art lang created by Daniel Swanson in 2015, based on badconlangingideas.tumblr.com, a blog full of jokes about hypothetical conlangs with really impractical features. K-pop's goal is to incorporate a whole bunch of these impractical features into one language. So essentially, K-pop is 46 jokes thrown together into a single language. With a few
conlang, constructed language. I bet you that's
original jokes thrown in there. Its consonants are b, d, g, p, t, k, z, j, f, s, sh, w, r, l, y. Man, look at all those goofy consonants. Most of these are also in English, with the exceptions of the percussive bimanual stop, sinistro-lateral click, dextro-lateral click, and the fascio-manual click, all of which are phonemes so rare that I had to make up my own legitimate-sounding names for them for the purposes of this video. And yes, you do have my permission to use fascio-manual click in reference to the sound a facepalm makes. Personally, I would have included the lingual-labial trill, but that's just me. K-pop's vowels are E, U, A, O, ah. This is just your classic vowels here, each one able to be pronounced approximately too many ways, as well as a bonus sixth vowel, written with the Han character for enzyme. K-pop also has 4 phonemic hats.
What the fuck?
Because of course it does. If you were to actually attempt to speak K-pop, you would need to quickly swap between these 4 hats pretty much every syllable. The orthography
and one of them is a pangalang. You need to be carrying a top hat and a pangalang with you in order to use this language. That does seem a little okay.
With everything else is a little underwhelming. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect, but with English-type variation on the vowels and some non-standard use of punctuation for the weird sounds. The only surprises here are the Han characters, which seem really out of place.
Do sub-discords get access with Tier 1 subs? Yes. Tier 1 subs or patrons at the $5 tier or more get access to the Discord. I don't want to, like... I wish I didn't have to give a shit about money. You know? Like, God. Like, his, whatever that is weird pronunciation. I don't know.
Used in one word each. The Han character for enzyme is only used in the word which means null, and the other 3 are only used in the word zig-a-zig-ah, which means a type of lover who works hard to fit in with your life because they love you so much and are willing to put an effort to make your
zig-a-zig-ah. That's a what is that a reference to? Spice Girls?
relationship work. You might notice that both of these words are jokes. Now, speaking as an amateur memeticist, both of these jokes would have probably been funnier if Swanson had spelled them more phonetically, especially since both of them are essentially jokes about pronunciation, to some extent. Simple words in K-pop are usually extremely long, and that's mostly because of the suffix system. It's kind of like ithquil, except it's mandatory, and it's simultaneously more specific and less precise. Nouns are required to be conjugated by case, number, expectation, edibility, grammatical gender, manner of death, awesomeness, and market value. And verbs are required to be conjugated by number, expectation, mental state, day of the week, honesty and subject magnitude relative to that of a bread box, awesomeness, and certainty. Again, these aren't optional. Every noun ends with 9 suffixes and every verb ends with 7 suffixes. You might think that this means K-pop goes for maximum precision, but then you might look at the vocabulary. A K-pop root can have up to and including 18 distinct unrelated meanings. For example, the root besbafletgab can mean hatter, terminology, journalese, grass-like, unrevenged, alphabetization, misty.
Oh, you fucked up your language hard if that works. Besbaflet. Also, I love that. Okay, so I didn't get it with the fucking symbols appearing, but the symbols are him showing off, like, how he would have to communicate by, like, switching out hats.
Heal, Althea, detain, addict, rehash, guzzler, thalassemia, ergot, humilia, race about.
This reminds me a lot of like Chinese. I think I was learning about this. It's like Chinese and Korean. No, it's K-pop that's doing it right now. That K-pop, like, so Korean, like, it's a tonal language where you have to get the tone right. And like in K-pop, they go for, rather than trying to sing where they're pronouncing the words correctly, they just don't do the tonal language part and just go in for the language, or just go in for the music. Which is why, you know, K-pop sounds really good right now, is because it doesn't have, you know, the intonations that change the pitch. Korean isn't tonal, Chinese is. All right. Anyway, I've heard that they've changed up how they're messing with that, and because there's two different meanings depending on the pitch you choose or whatever, they're just letting you figure it out, and I think that's neat.
Punishment. This combined with the suffix system means interpreting a K-pop word is sort of like a game of 20 questions, right down to the animal, vegetable, mineral type noun classes and the conjugation based on size relative to a bread box. Just like in 20 questions, this still might not be enough information in some cases, to the extent that some entire chunks of text can mean multiple distinct, equally valid things, with no way to know which one it is other than context. Very impressively, one particular phrase may be interpreted either as all of humanity had one language, they moved from the east to a plain in Shinar, and set up things for long-term residence, or as we are not strangers to love. You know the rules. I know the rules. I'm thinking of an entire commitment. You would not get this from a different guy. That is an impressive amount of dedication right there. This isn't even the whole thing. There's a video available where Swanson reads the entirety of this passage, and it's almost 40 minutes long. There's a link in the description.
Jesus fuck!
To be a bad conlang, and honestly, I think it's the best possible type of bad conlang. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that K-bop is worse than Ithquil is good, technically making K-bop the best art lang reviewed so far. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, where I'll be reviewing Klingon.
I do want to, like, listen to... the babble text in K-bop. Oh my fucking shit. Oh, he doesn't have a pangolin, so he's using a fucking chicken hat. Lewd Limes, thank you for the 52 months of support. Been broke for a bit, glad to be back. You know what? I am glad that you are feeling now financially stable. Like, that's really fucking good.
Cell. Bush. Rube. Sip. Myth. Gov. San. App. Vleer. Sang. S. Ooh. Vom. No. Gog. Yam. Ack. Flim. K. 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 Dan. Twee. Fob.
He's speaking,
San.
he's using his language. What part of this do you not get? In the sub Discord chat. Yeah, there's a specific spot in the sub Discord for it. Can you make this a mandatory language to learn? I've only come up with like a couple of Konglangs, and the one I had was actually kind of similar to this, except for nouns, adjectives, and verbs could be used as adjectives and adverbs. So, and then repetition of a word increases the importance of the word. I want a Kanglang where all the consonants are farts. You can't talk unless if you just eat enough gassy foods. Yeah, so like bitch, bitch, bitch means mega bitch. And penis, 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 penis. It also when there was not formal names for time past a certain point. Like, so I found out that there are languages, generally speaking, with most languages, you have a word for like yesterday, right? You have one day ago. You have today, which is, and then you have tomorrow, which is one day from now, right? And you have like, but we don't really have words for like too many things. We have month, we have year, we have week. I found out about a language that didn't have words for like years or months. It was just like weeks. and they would reference up to 6 weeks, or no, it was 6 days in either direction. That was it. They had a single word to reference a day 6 days ago. And like that was it was something along those lines, and I thought that was amazing. Like that says so much about their culture that they only have they don't have words for months and seasons. Which means that like they're not a farming society. Like they can't be, right? Like how would you farm without having a concept or at least being able to discuss the idea of seasons? Was it a tropical oriented language? Yes. And I think that's part of it as well. But like what a language considers important and when it invents different words says so fucking much about the language. Did you know? I didn't know this until recently. Liberty. There's no direct translation to liberty in other languages because the term liberty means something different depending on what culture you're from. Like, they're trying to convince us that DJ twitching is good. Isn't liberty technically a synonym for freedom? What are you being free from? Shout out to the French Republic calendar where every day has its own name. What the fuck? Jesus. Yeah, but no, so like depending on what culture you're from depends on what you are being granted liberty from. Are you being granted liberty from monarchs? From oppression? The ability to do whatever you want? The ability to be in groups together? Like, what are you free to do? Isn't that fucking wild? It's also interesting, like, when different languages come out with family names or how they come about to get names. Like, in a lot of, like, Western cultures, it's because, oh, that's probably because, like, every Saint's Day. Oh, yeah, I guess. Well, no, the French Revolution probably wouldn't do anything with Catholics, right? Weren't they, like, not about... No, were they Catholics? Not... Fuck, I forgot how that one went. I know there's some religion involved. There's always some fucking religion involved with those Europeans. They're always freaking out about it. They hated Catholics. Right, so I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, no, so in English, the way that we started developing last names was, you know, everyone had their first name because you need to be able to talk about a specific person, especially if they're not around. Like trying to have to describe someone to go, you know, the guy, he's tall, he's got a beard. Oh, that guy. Yeah, that guy. Like that's super awkward, you know? But like every language comes up with names. Hat beard Vinny. Tall beard Rev. There you go. We're getting some caneling going. The pictures have boobs. French Republican calendar. Bald beard Mike. But when people started moving out of the villages they came from, people were given last names based on where they were from or what their job was. My last name, Mullen, is referencing a friar's haircut because my ancestor was someone who was part of the ecclesiarchy of some church or another, I guess, and had that hair, you know? It's like literally it translates to like baldy, I think. Johnson, Smith, as in blacksmith. I started reading this story, or I started listening to this audiobook, right? And it's pretty good, but there's a couple problems with it. It's an isekai, right? Okay, so the concept is that this fairy isekai is this guy who's like a office worker guy, right? And at first he doesn't get it. Then he's like, look, if that ever happens again where I get isekai to another world and then put back, I need to make sure that like I'm ready for it next time. So he spends the next few years of his life like training on like how to use weapons and shit, because he's like, yeah, I'm like Ted from accounting. Like, I have no fucking skills to be able to deal with shit if I were to get summoned. So then he gets summoned again, but he was at the gun range. So when he gets summoned, she's like, kill that thing. And he's like, all right, blap, and does it. And that was interesting. One of the issues that I have with this series is that none of the fairies have names. This is like a cultural thing that you're not allowed to have names. The name of the isekai, and it's not really an isekai, it's sort of an isekai. It's humans don't make very good familiars. Basically it's just like the fairy takes this Ted from accounting guy equivalent as her familiar. It's really weird. But yeah, he keeps going in buildings, but she also rides on his shoulders. And she didn't have a name before she gave him one. Just call the fairies Marklar, so it's not confusing. That's very confusing for me. Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. Because I don't think you can have a culture where people don't have names. Names are kind of one of the first things that gets invented. I would love to learn about more Kanglangs. What is this?
You know, I am a sucker for a good conlang.
Are you indeed?
Yeah, give me those long appendices with pages and pages of grammar and those obscure IPA consonants like alveolar fricatives and velar approximants. I want all of it.
Well, you know, I'm something of a conlang connoisseur myself, but I only dabble in the more esoteric side of the art. Have you heard of the works of Samuel Ferdinand Levitt, perhaps?
No, who is that?
Only one of the most famous conlangers who ever lived. Here's his picture.
You have him saved as your wallpaper?
Of course.
So what did he do? Was he one of those people who helped with like Klingon or Dothraki or something?
Oh no, nothing like that. His work was a little more naturalistic.
Like Tolkien's?
Tolkien was certainly quaint.
That doesn't sound like a compliment the way you said it.
Well, Tolkien never did reach the heights of Levitt. After all, his languages were mostly for his own amusement. He never expected people to speak them. But Levitt, he wanted to create complete languages, languages with hundreds of thousands of words that could theoretically be spoken by entire civilizations of people if history had gone differently.
Wow. And what did he do with all that?
He wrote a novel.
Just one novel?
Yes, just one novel. His magnum opus.
Sorry, and what was it called? I just want to look it up real quick.
I can't just tell you.
Why not?
Because it was entirely written in one of his invented languages. Even the title. But, okay, that's impressive, but why would you write an entire book in a conlang? Does he expect people to learn the conlang to read the book?
Of course not.
Oh, so he translated it back into English then?
No, not my Levitt. He would never do that.
Then what? Levitt's work cannot be translated. You have to understand the language, you see, in order to translate it.
Oh, you mean he was like the only person who knew how to speak his conlang and then he died without leaving any notes behind or something?
No, I mean he couldn't have translated it even if he wanted to because he didn't speak the language. Okay.
What?
I'm sorry. We're still talking about conlangs, right?
Yes.
Specifically a conlang that this Levitt guy invented.
Yes.
So
why would he not be able to translate his own conlang? Well, for one thing, it was written entirely for a race of beings that have completely different anatomy from our own.
Oh.
Each of them have 3 noses, each of which has 3 nostrils that can be individually opened or closed, giving a total of 511 nasal consonants. What? Not including voiced nasals, of course, which are different from normal nasal consonants because each nostril has its own voice box. If you use both the nostril box and the voice box to voice a consonant, then you get a different consonant than if you just use the voice box, or vice versa. Okay, nope, I think I get it now. This man was just insane. Not to mention, the conlang was a tonal language in which every morpheme can be expressed a total of 798 distinct ways, not all of which would be visible to human ears because some of them dip below 20 Hz and some of them rise above 20,000 Hz. But why? What's the point of making a conlang you literally can't speak? There's no reason to do that. Well, what's the point of making any conlang? Artistic fulfillment, I would imagine. Okay, fine, but that doesn't explain why he would need to actually speak his language in order to translate it. He doesn't actually need to voice those consonants in order to write the book in English. True, but his inability to understand his language goes beyond that. You've heard of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, I'm sure. You mean the idea that there are certain concepts in some languages that can only be understood if you speak that language? Exactly.
What the fuck? Is this real?
Levitt was a big believer in Sapir-Whorf. He believed the novel literally could not be understood unless it was read in its original language, not even by himself. So you're saying he wrote an entire book while not understanding a single word he was writing? Exactly. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make more sense if you think about the process of artistic creation as more one of discovery than one of invention. But then the book could just be gibberish for all we know. Well, Levitt was quite certain that it wasn't only coherent, but that if it had been written by the race of beings he had invented for it, it would be considered the greatest work of literature that civilization had ever produced. And most Levitt experts tend to agree with him in that assessment. In fact,
this is a shitpost. This is the only way you can interpret this information. This is such a shitpost.
Some have argued that attempting
Unfortunately, no, it appears to be made up. Thank fuck.
Translate the novel at all would be akin to cultural appropriation. For a culture that doesn't even exist? Exist is a relative term. Okay, but I'm sorry, I still don't understand how you would even...
I feel like that this is quite possibly riffing on a culture that I don't know anything about, specifically conlang stuff. It just sounds, the author was the picture, yeah, I mean, but like, I wonder how close this is to a thing that actually has happened at some point, where someone has made a language where you have to smell it. A game for people who want to smash communism. Perfect. All right. Actually, let me listen to the rest of this because I'm curious.
That you're writing a book that is coherent while not understanding a single word of it. You're acting like he was possessed by like a demon from another dimension while he was writing this thing or something. Well, one of Levitt's earliest ideas when he was preparing to write the book was actually to alter his own biology so that he could speak his conlang and therefore understand what he was writing. He was one of the early transhumanist adapters, you understand, so he wanted to get cybernetic implants in order to mimic the nasal tracts of his species. But he didn't do that? Well, no, because he ultimately decided it wouldn't be artistically challenging enough. It would be one thing, he figured, to write a great work of literature while being a member of the species that had produced that literature. But to write a great work of literature while being biologically incapable of understanding the language in which that literature
building
was
is just
produced,
a fetish, I kind of do want to watch that.
Quite possibly the most extraordinary artistic achievement in the history of man. And you think he achieved that? I don't just think it. I know it. Otherwise, there's no good way to explain the existence of the book. For example, we could say that Levitt was mad, but we know he wasn't. He was always regarded as one of the smartest people in the room wherever he went. And we could say that he was lying, but we also know that he valued his personal integrity more than just about anything in the world. So the only plausible explanation for the book's existence is that he really did achieve exactly what he set out to achieve. Wow. Okay, so you're actually just as insane as this Levitt guy was. I have a copy of the book. I can lend it to you if you like next time I come over. The illustrations are fascinating. There's illustrations? Yes, of course, very detailed ones. I mean...
Of what?
I'm morbidly curious now. I guess that would be interesting to look at. Of course, you would need to look through an infrared camera to see them, because the people in the world he invented only see infrared light. Okay, actually, you know, on second thought, I think I'll just stick to Tolkien instead.
Yeah, honestly. Alright. Is that ketchup? Are you eating ketchup packets? Oh, it's hard candy.
John,
that does make significantly more sense.
Dimitri.
Are you busy right now? I had some things about the manuscript I wanted to discuss with you.
I'm a little busy. I can make some time, though. What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's the... Look, I know you've gotten away with some rather strange things in your books before, and I know I'm a little out of touch, and maybe I don't have a good idea of what sells well these days, but To put it frankly, John, the world building in this recent novel of yours is quite repulsive.
Repulsive? No. I'm trying to write something that speaks to people, man. You call that repulsive?
I think that it will be abundantly clear to anyone who reads this that this entire world you've invented is nothing more than a vessel for your fantasies.
Dimitri, I don't really know what you're talking about.
Well, for one thing, do you think it's even remotely plausible for an entire society to have never invented the concept of shoes?
It's just their culture. They believe the earth is sacred, and to put anything between you and it is to insult the gods.
Well, the shoes thing is only a small part of it, John. I mean, Tolkien got away with that after all, but it's the magic system I really wanted to have a talk with you about.
What's wrong with potomancy?
Well, for one thing, the fact that it's called potomancy.
Do you have a better name?
No, because quite frankly, John, I would rather do away with the whole thing altogether. I mean, it's an entire
Clean your
magic
glasses,
system
my dude. They're as bad as mine. Holy shit.
revolving around sucking toes.
It's based on ancient Mesopotamian religion. It's because in their culture, they believe that power resides in the feet.
Nobody is going to buy that ancient Mesopotamian religious stuff, John. You have an entire class-based society revolving around people who suck toes and people who have their toes sucked.
Right. The toe suckers get their power from the people whose toes they suck, so naturally they would be the dominant class.
But you have 20 pages at the end of the manuscript detailing how sucking different combinations of toes creates all these different magical effects when combined with the genetic makeup of the person who's having their toes sucked. And the entire time I'm just thinking, couldn't you have made this magic system revolve around anything else? Like anything else in the entire world?
You're acting like this whole toe-sucking thing is just something I threw in there offhandedly at the last moment. But it's literally what the entire story is based around. And it's thematically important because it represents how the higher classes in this society are sucking the life essence out of the lower classes. It's very important stuff. Can't do away with it.
But you could have found a way to express all that without getting feet involved. Oh, and not to mention, the powers that people get from sucking toes are basically the same powers as in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy. What were you thinking of calling this book? Toeborn?
Yes?
Wait, seriously?
Look, are you almost done? Because I really need to get back to working on the sequel.
John, I don't think you understand. There won't be a sequel because nobody is going to buy this. No one.
I think you might be surprised, Dimitri.
No, John, don't hang up on me. If you don't send me another manuscript within the next week, you are going to have to find a different agent. I am not risking my reputation on trying to get this thing published. John,
see ya.
Don't you dare. John.
Went down to history as hold on, I need to check something. r/foot fetish has 345,000 members, 9 of which are online right now, looking at feet. I'm just saying, like, I really don't think that it would be difficult to sell a book about foot fetishes. Like, what what's something else that I could check? Like, I need another, like, subreddit that I could check that would be, like, equivalent to toe sucking. Tits! Tits are too popular. Thighs? Thighs. Reddit. Thigh zone. r/Thigh Zone has 99,000 members. What are you looking up? I'm trying to figure out how common liking feet is in comparison to other fetishes that are not tits. Just for, like, a reference point on how successful this guy's book would be. Does that make sense? Do armpits? Isn't it by far the most common fetish? Yeah, it turns out. Why feet? Because this guy's entire video was about feet. Did you watch it? Do you want to watch it again? I'm just saying, like, thighs are pretty good. I get that one. I don't get feet, but I get thighs. I get it. It's not my thing, but I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see the appeal. Smooth? You keep staring at it, it goes somewhere else that you might be interested in? Depending on if you have other fetishes or not? I would not watch a video about feet. You want to watch it again? Yeah, no, but seriously, let's look at some other things. Thick thighs save lives. Jeff Bezos rowing a boat.
Today I'm going to show you how I made this Jeff Bezos rowing boat. And if you stick around to the end, I'll make it worth your while.
What?
I began sculpting Jeff in wet clay. This is a water-based clay that supposedly has glycerin in it, which keeps it moist for longer. But I have yet to taste any glycerin. I imagine many of you will be saying,
This isn't a diorama. But Bobby Fingers does dioramas. Where's the diorama?
yeah, it's not a diorama, it's a head boat. I'm making a head boat. And if you don't like that, just switch it off, you know? Go do something productive with your time. Paint a picture. Learn CPR. Make amends with an old friend. I did the latter recently. I reached out to my friend Brian, who I hadn't spoken to in 9 years. We had a big argument after I told him how to do the ice bucket challenge.
I nominate Al Kennington, Mike O'Hearn, and Sir Kenneth Branagh.
So the reason I chose Jeff Bezos is because he's bald. That's it. That way I didn't have to deal with 7:1 scale hair. I don't know any connection between Jeff Bezos and any boats. I'm sure he has a boat.
Yeah.
I didn't do any research into him whatsoever. By the end, I'll do some awkward comparison between Jeff Bezos and the captain of a ship. The ship's called the Amazon. He's the captain, and all of the lads do a mutiny, and they unionize, and they throw him off the boat because of unfair working conditions or some shit like that. It'll make sense in the end.
What is this video?
I knew this project was going to be very expensive, so I thought a good way to earn money would be to turn some of my previous models into action figures. So I emailed a couple of dozen toy manufacturers, none of whom agreed to meet with me, with the exception of independent toy inventor Dominic Yard. Dominic has made games like this, and this, and this. Dominic was kind enough to listen to my sales pitch. He says his catchphrases like, freedom, I deserve to be blown. Or,
no, I'm sorry, mate.
Hang on, I got loads of this. I was disappointed at first.
What the fuck does this guy normally do? Fabio and the goat. Okay, so he does like little
best not to get
model things.
Thinks it's a good idea to rebrand the dildo as something the whole family can enjoy. Cause if that's not a dildo, then I'm a monkey's uncle.
That's a pretty solid point.
I brought the sculpture to Odyssey Studios, where I scanned it to create a digital model. This needed to be cleaned up, so I emailed it to digital expert Laura Hurtado Medas. Laura wrote back to my email saying she was very busy, so I said it would be in her best interest to do it now. She reminded me that she does not work for me, so I told her she should stop being so uptight and learn to relax, and she responded in Spanish which I didn't have time to translate, but my basic grasp of Latin led me to believe that she was sorry she couldn't help me this time. In the end, I had to do all the digital work myself, and I ended up deleting his ears permanently. So thanks for that, Laur Hurtado me das. Then I went to the dump.
Why has he got a...
And I
it's
took a whole
so,
heap of
like,
polystyrene,
frantic.
which I thrown into the back of a lorry. And then the lorry brought it down to the studio for me.
This is performance art. It's not just about making the thing. Like, most of the time with these videos...
Slice up the polystyrene into manageable blocks, which I combined with some of the offcuts.
This is a different Bobby Fingers. Yeah, I think so. Because I was talking about, like, politicians and shit. Does this boat work? Did you just hop into a trash compactor? It was just a trash thing, but yeah.
Brought the chubby block into Abe. Abe is a 5-axis milling machine, and I do not like Abe. It's nothing personal, it's just that I recently watched Terminator, and I didn't like what I saw. Terminator 2, however, was great fun, especially the bit when Terminator pulled his hand off in front of the scientist. Then
groceries soon. Yeah, I think I'm gonna finish. Actually, this video is quite long. I will. I'm gonna go ahead and have to stop here, y'all. Like I said earlier, I have to stop at around 4 because we are getting groceries delivered, and I don't know when. Somewhere between now and later.
Took some measurements which he put into the program Power Mill. And there's my earless.
You are a very special boy.
And then Abe began cutting.
I get the glass walls now. Holy shit.
While all that nonsense was going on, I decided I should probably help around the studio. One of the props that needed doing was like a red hot poker for a torture scene. I shaped some yellow acrylic and spray painted it appropriately. Then I cast this handle in polyurethane and drilled a hole in the handle to house the electronics. And I stuck a light at the top. It's quite effective looking.
Wow, that looks pretty good.
I'm not sure what it's for. I think it might be a Chekhov play.
Chekhov play? Yeah, now I'm on EST time, so it's 3:55 right now. And I started streaming it around. A couple people came in today that haven't been around in a bit. I started around 11 Eastern time. It should be there soon. It's a small order. Okay. I can hop out once it actually turns 4 and go check. Unless if you think it's out there right now.
And I slapped all the clay onto it.
The amount of money this clay would cost would be ridiculous.
Clay when the job is done. Then I can scrape off the polyurethane and recycle all the polystyrene. Because it's important to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I'd actually like to add a 4th R, which is register as a sex offender, specifically for this drifter who likes to eat tampons out of the bins in front of the studio. Then Kieran ran the milling program again, this time leaving a 5mm skin of oil-based clay all over the polystyrene.
My god, that would be such a bitch to clean. Oh man. Also, this office thing? A BRB? Okay, let me go take a quick BRB and we'll come back to this. Give me like 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Why is it so big? Because he's making his face into a boat. 2 minutes, BRB. I am back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it wasn't out there yet. It probably will come in the next couple minutes. So let's maybe wrap up this video.
Then I brought it upstairs, which was easy peasy. Then I carved some ears by hand myself. I stuck them on and covered them in oil-based clay. And thus began the relentless task of removing the tool marks and putting on the skin texture. This took quite some time.
It's not out there yet.
Complain because
but I checked.
Nobody asked me to do any of this. Just using some reticulated foam there to drag away some of the marks left by Abe. Before deciding on Bezos, I went through kind of a short list of bald people to use for my headbutt.
It is now. I bet you that car that was parked. All right. Be right back again. Sorry, y'all. All right, I'm back. Sorry. I got it into the fridge before we had any issues. Some frozen stuff. It's like stuff that we needed, but like we need some Drano because the drain in the bathroom won't like actually drain. It's probably because of beard hair, but you know, stuff like that.
Bruce Willis, but it seemed inappropriate given
the groceries
his
are here.
Circumstance. Then I was thinking Bill Cosby, but I didn't want to come across as an edgelord.
Yeah.
And then I thought Patrick Stewart, but you know, fuck Patrick Stewart. We don't have any bald celebrities in Ireland, except perhaps Granuaile, who was a 16th century Irish pirate queen. I used to dream she would come into my bedroom, her bald head glistening in the moonlight, and then she'd stab me with a big long sword. To this day I sleep in a fully lit room, sitting upright with my shoes on. I was able to raise through the upper part of his head because the scalp doesn't contain much by way of texture. I wondered if any of Jeff Bezos' success could be as a result of him losing his hair. Does being bald make you a better businessman? I put the question to Chief Executive Officer of Odyssey Studios, Mark Maher.
I started to go bald when I was...
It's such a fucking... This channel is so fucking unhinged and calm at the same time. It's exactly my kind of humor.
Next, I put in Jeff Bezos' skin pores. I did those one at a time with the little loop tool. And I staggered them to create
Hey, LaFroggy, welcome back.
Interlaced effect. And then I knocked it all back with the hairbrush that I found in the studio. I've never done massive texture before.
Wow.
I've only ever done normal. I used the same loop tool to hack a few wrinkles around the eyes, and then used the brush to soften it all down. And then I put a few pockmarks in his chin.
The literal child.
This is all in fast motion. I'm not that quick. I'm not on speed or anything. Can you still get speed? I haven't done speed in a long time. The last time I did speed...
Isn't speed just coke? I haven't done either. You can tell.
I ended up talking to some guy for 2 hours.
I mean, its texture work is amazing. Speed is math. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You don't want to use too much lighter fluid because it can cause problems during the molding process. And I can't afford to make any mistakes, as this is an incredibly expensive undertaking. One mistake could cripple me financially. So to drum up some extra cash, I flogged my car, quit smoking, and sold tickets to a live diorama performance.
I don't have a ruler. I have to bring a ruler now.
You can't see anything.
Yeah, but that's not my fault, is it?
Do the one about Mel Gibson.
I needed to make a 2-part mold, so I had to create
I
a
fucking
parting
love
line
this
down
guy.
the center.
Notice who's in the
I did this by
crowd?
building a clay.
I don't know any of these people. What do you mean, no? In dead middle is pit. Oh, it is! What the fuck? How did I not see him? The guy's a fucking giant. I was looking at this guy and I'm like, that guy looks a lot like the guy from Tabletop Tactics. The guy who always kind of breathes through his teeth. Hold on.
Boarding Actions is back, and with a whole new book packed with missions
Not that
and
guy.
multiple
Not that
detachments
guy.
for each.
Does he not do content anymore for him? Not the beard.
As the
I miss
vermin doom
Bones.
rips through the fabric of reality, the Skaven
Who the fuck are
descend
these
upon the mortal
guys?
realm.
I mean, one of them I recognize, but he's kind of a...
Welcome back to Tabletop Tactics and this Codex debut for the Agents of the Imperium. The
It's bad.
Imperialist fleet is unleashed today.
Yeah,
as
I
the
guess that guy's not in any of their recent videos. Can you expand the video window, sorry? Better?
Do the one about Mel Gibson.
I needed to make a 2-part mold, so I had to create a parting line down the center. I did this by building a clay wall down his middle. I used bamboo skewers and plaster bandage to add rigidity. I'm just cleaning up the clay there with a rubber tool. It's important to have a nice crisp line between clays. Then I lathered the whole thing in some tin cure silicone.
I mean, he's done a beautiful job. It not only looks like the guy, but it's fucking
I did
massive.
a couple of layers of silicone, and then
Like,
I
the
stuck
proportions are
some towel
perfect.
to the final layer of silicone. The toweling will create a mechanical bond between the silicone and this polyester resin that I'm brushing onto some fiberglass.
Oh,
This will give
fiberglass
the
work.
mold rigidity. And it fucking stinks.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Took a bit of speed for that side. Because the mold is so big, it'll be a bit flexible, and I don't want that. So I adhered a lot of brackets to it and welded up a big metal frame to hold everything in place.
That's so dystopian looking with
I had
the
never
frame
really
in place.
considered my own hair loss until I began working on this project. The more I thought about it, the more concerned I became. What if I do go bald? I know there are special shampoos and supplements, but they didn't seem enough to quell the now looming horror I felt about losing my beautiful hair. Then I realized that my problem wasn't with going bald, but rather the fear of going bald. So I wondered if grafting a single hair from the cheek of my arse to the top of my head would help. That way, I would spend less time working.
No worries, my love. I love you. I'll see you soon.
About losing my hair and more time focusing on the fact that there is an arse hair growing from the top of my head. So I contacted over 70 hair transplant surgeries in Ireland, the UK and further afield, but no one would assist me. So I went to a place where the surgeons have bigger balls.
Did he really go for Turkey just for a bit? Did you get the ass hair attached to your head?
This is health consultant Osman Yetkin.
Wait, what the fuck? We're really doing that?
Transplant company Holiday Aesthetic. He brought me to academic hospital in Istanbul to meet Dr. Nihat.
What the fuck is happening?
I explained how I wanted to graft a single hair from my buttocks to the top of my head, and with a reassuring level of professionalism and decorum, the doctor agreed to conduct the procedure.
It is first for us.
Yeah, this is going to be first experience for us.
Oh, I can't show that. I can't show this on stream. He's getting injected in his butt. Another guy is they're currently trying to shave off all of the hairs, and they found one. They've grabbed one by the root, pulled it out of his ass, and they've got the hair, and now they're manually installing it into his head, which looks painful as fuck. They have a tiny piece of skin graft that they've taken from, like, with tweezers, and they're putting it on there. His head is now bleeding slightly because he has an ass hair on it. It's about 1 pore's worth of hair damage. And then the doctor's giving a thumbs up, and now they're on the plane. Coming back.
Turkey was a nice country. Their money is strange, though. I ended up coming home with thousands upon thousands of Turkish lira, which I keep in my international cash box.
I mean, that looks cool. I wonder how much money that is.
Then I pulled the mold off the sculpture and put the pieces back into the metal frame. Then I mixed up batches of coloured polyester resin, which I painted into the mold, building up his skin tones in reverse.
Oh my
This
god!
process is called intrinsic painting. I had recently used this technique while making this mask. This was a silicone mask, so I could punch in these hairs by hand. A couple of eyebrows too.
God, he's really good.
Then I put the mask up on my head and I walked out on stage in front of 22,000 people and sang a few songs I wrote with a band called King Kong Company.
Little pig, let me in, and I look after your kids. Brush their teeth, say their prayers, tuck them in, I will look after your kids. Little pig, let me in, I will look after your kids. By the hair on my chinny chin, I will look after your kids. I will look after your kids. And I look after your kids. I will look after your kids. I will.
I have no idea what the fuck this video is. Can I be real? I'm gonna have to mute the music because I think it's music.
If you want to see more of me and King Kong Company, I'll put a link in the description.
That's
We
like
could
a
be
real
playing in
thing?
a town near you. I mixed up a thicker batch of polyester resin, tinted ivory.
Like, yeah, I love it when people use their like skill and talent to, because like so many people are like, oh man, you're a painter? Oh, you should paint all these beautiful hills and shit. And it's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna make a giant face of Jeff Bezos as a rowing boat.
Which works as the base tone for his Caucasian skin. Then I laid in 4 layers of fiberglass matting. I told Laura Hurtado Miedas that if she wanted to keep her job, she should print me some 7:1 scale eyeballs. This must have made its way back to Mark, because he called me into his office for a quick chat.
The place is a fucking wreck. You can use the whole shebang, the whole place if you want. But don't contact them lies. Don't contact Laura and say, you're going to get fired if you don't do this. Oh, you don't even work here.
So I had to make my own eyeballs from scratch.
I think that they're playing along with the bit, but it's really good that they are.
Posted a video of that process over on Patreon. Here's the link. Give me a few shillings, you cheap. Once I'd laminated both sides of the mold, I pushed the 2 halves together, and then I bolted it shut.
Yeah, after seeing him get an ass hair transplant in Turkey, I don't know what parts of this are real.
Next, I got.
What did I join in on? He's making a giant Jeff Bezos head to turn into a boat. I want to say you missed a lot, but like you did, and I honestly can't explain what all you missed. You've missed a lot in this video. It's only 20 minutes that we're in so far, and you missed so much content. It has not been about making a boat.
2 halves with more polyester.
Somehow.
And fiberglass. Then I added some wooden stringers, which will give the boat more structure. And I stuck that in place.
He showed us
with
a
more
performance
fiberglass.
from his band.
And I sealed up the inside with human shit. Once everything was cured, I opened the mold and hatched out a beautiful Jeff Bezos.
Also, can I just talk about like the grading on this? Like, look at how like this area, this shadow right here is like, everything is like got this really weird like over brightened thing.
I got nylon fishing line and cut it to length, sanded each one and tapered the end with a scalpel. And then I drilled about 600 or 700 holes. I dipped each hair into some super glue. And I popped them into the holes.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And I did something similar with the eyelashes. Then I took a little roundy burr on a rotary tool and I ground away the seam, going up the centre of his head, and I offset some of the yellow of the polyester with a couple of violet tones. Then I painted over the seam. And finally I sprayed him with some matte varnish just to knock back some of the sheen. And with that, I was able to stick a fork in Jeff Bezos.
I mean, some parts of being an artist are you just have to fucking make the thing. You know? Sometimes there's no workaround. Sometimes you have to put each hair into the thing individually. This doesn't seem like this is a one-off
Over
video
300
for him that
million
he's this
people
weird.
invite
It seems
Jeff
like he's
Bezos
this
into
weird
their homes
regularly.
every day. You can have almost anything you want brought directly to your hands because of him. But empires are never built without suffering, and for many, the revolt was exhausting, but fruitful. I have spent months getting to know every pore on his face, yet I feel very little for him. The bookends of his life will show an infant who was abandoned by his father, and a man who built a rocket and sailed to the stars.
Shaped like a penis?
And I find it difficult not to be inspired by this. Because if Jeff Bezos can venture into the great unknown in a ship shaped like a massive dick, then so can I.
Gather, sons, and hear me tell of a ship that cut through a hideous swell with a pickerel crew that was bound for hell. The Amazon, they called her, with a rancid tank and the rum most foul. A madness swept through the mariners' bowels. They heard the icy sundogs howl and grew a taste for murder. Grow right for Bezos upon a violent sea. Long are the days and strong are the sails, but he never did right by me. Sweat, blood for Bezos, bound by a terrible creed. We'll heave and hoe till the stock is low, said the bastard sons of Bezos. Fear behest and woe betide as lightning struck on the starboard side, and every son among them cried, his belly full of poison. When they boiled the coke and they ate his flank, and they wiped their chins with the cabin boy's scalp, they burned the sails and slowly sank beyond the red horizon. They lashed the captain to a strut, a cunny cut into his gut. They formed a line to fill him up with 100 sons inside him.
It's the fucking
They'd never
pirate.
seen a thing so fair. The ladder rack his auburn hair. They gathered round and said a prayer, and they gave him to Poseidon. Row right for Bezos upon a violent sea. Longer the days and stronger the sails,
He's
but he
got
never
the
did
fucking-
right by me. Sweat, blood for Bezos, bound by a terrible creed. We'll heave and hoe till the stock is low, said the bastard sons of Bezos.
I was really ready for Jeff Bezos to show up.
Laura Hurtado, miras.
Hola, pichita mía.
Sacando a las perras de paseo.
¿Y tú no estás en el Amazonas?
No hay hombre que esté en el Amazonas.
¿Y el capitán Bezos?
Destrepando sus penas a Poseidon.
El almirante quiere hablar contigo.
Yo con él. ¿Por qué no estoy al encuentro ahí?
No, señor Fingers. Eres demasiado escurridizo para eso.
Yeah, the Dream Pirate was bald. That was not the Dream Pirate. The Dream Pirate did show up in his, like, murder of Jeff Bezos. This is Laura from the production company. Laura from the fucking production company.
To rats who flee a sinking ship,
can stay at sea for 3 to 4 days. And those lucky enough to pick up the smell of land will eventually
That's the fucking boss that was telling him off.
make their way to shore. And as they drag themselves onto the wharf, they're so exhausted.
The poker for the
so
torture
tired
scene, right.
That most of them are easily picked off by cats, dogs, and even the worst of men. You look very tired, Mr. Fingers.
Untie me, Admiral, and I will dance a jig on your table.
I have no use for minstrels.
And it is a good thing I am a sailor.
A sailor would not abandon his position.
I did what I had to do.
To help yourself?
To survive.
What are we watching?
Like a
Listen, I know it looks like it's about pirates, but it's about making a boat that's shaped like Jeff Bezos' face. I swear to fuck that this made sense at one point.
True rat.
Not for long, but it did for a bit.
No, Mr. Fingers. You're something far worse. Lady Laura, mark this man a traitor.
God damn it! Wow!
The GPS coordinates to this location are hidden throughout the video. If you find it first and dig it up, then the treasure is yours. And if you sign up to Patreon, you can see my videos early, thus improving your chances. Congratulations to Jack Griffin, who dug up Michael Jackson in the mountains near Neverland Ranch in California. And as for the boat, I'm going to keep it for now. I don't want any of you landlubbers drowning and having your mothers come after me. It'll also serve as a constant reminder that there's hope for me, even if I do go bald. But I'll never really go bald. Not with an arse hair growing out the top of my head. See you next time on Bobby Fingers.
We'll heave and haul.
Still gotta show the cute kid off. Wow. Fabio and the goose. What? Didn't Fabio get hit in the face with a goose? Isn't that the story? Fabio gets hit by a goose riding Apollo's... Yeah, he got hit by a goose. He's injured by a goose riding a roller coaster 25 years ago. It was covered by so many people that it was thought to be an April Fool's joke the next day. Oh, because it... Oh my god, that's wild. I tell you, it was a miracle. I know that. For a goose, for anything to hit you at almost 80 miles an hour and to leave you with just a stitch, I'm telling you, it was a freaking... I mean, like, regardless of what it is, anything hitting you at 80 miles an hour is pretty fucking fast. What's 80 miles to kilometers? That's feet. 128 kilometers per hour. Like, that's fucking fast. Yeah, it originally didn't give it to me in thing. They're giving it to me. It gave it to me in feet. Let's see if there's any more art on there or any more ooh. Okay, yeah, sorry. Mike sent me a thing and I wanted to make sure that I was on top of it for that. The secret thing that Mike was talking about, that he could only do with me. He sent me some information about it and it looks legit. All right. Is it gay sex? Of course, it's always going to be gay. Me and him are just gay for each other. Rev does seem like a top. I don't understand the top thing, man. And like, here's the thing. I was watching Northern Lion the other day. I watched like a bit of Northern Lion playing Sisyphus, talking about tops and bottoms and like doms and subs. And it was the most fucking bizarre shit. And my wife was like, what are you watching? And it was like, I'm watching Northern Lion. And she's like, what the fuck is this conversation? This sounds like something you would talk to your chat about. And I'm like, yeah, I know it is. I don't fucking know what. I don't understand that. I don't know how you could be a top that's a sub. Like, he got it immediately. He was like, no, that makes sense. Like, like he said, like, being on top does not make you a, like, that's not your actual, like, orientation in physical space. It's like a thing you do. Like, a power bottom can still be on top doing the thing. Riding, but not being in control. So that's what a server's top is? And so a power bottom is someone who's on physically the bottom. Top bottom is penetration. Oh, I see. Well, isn't being... Topping and bottoming refers to pitching and catching. I see. So it's just a right. So I mean, like in heterosexual relationships, like, I mean, I guess you can bust out strap-ons or some shit and then have a dude who's... Huh. And then dubbing or doming and submission is just like... So right, okay, if it's just called pitching and catching, I get that a lot more than top bottom. A woman can dominate a man without a strap on. That's true. I've seen women step on balls before. And some women have dicks. Yeah, I've seen people step on dicks before. You're looking for something good. You're like, let me find some porn. And they're like, this could be good. And you click on it. And then the woman immediately is just like, your dick sucks. And then immediately just starts stepping on it. It's like, this is not what I expected. Or what I wanted. I thought like top and bottom was more of a I equated top with dom and bottom with like sub. That like it was like your role to play. But it's about like who's the plug and who's the socket. I thought top was the receiver. It can be, apparently. Top bottom is performance. Sub dom is the approach. I mean, I get it now, I guess. Let's look at this chunky ass knife.
Top 10 Gooby Woobies. Number 10, we got Goopoo Loopoo. He's hella funny. Then
What
we
the
got
fuck?
Stoopoo Doopoo. What a goat. Then we got Goopy. He's a menace. Don't let his appearance fool you. Then we got TJ Crean. What a beast. Then we got Mr. Denmark. Love him.
I like that one.
Wellness is complete without Glub Tubbis Weppel. Then we got Mr. Dubstep.
Oh, Gravity
it's Gub
Knife.
Gub. I love Gub Gub.
Ooh, that one's
then we
good.
got Aaron.
Aaron.
And this guy.
I bet those knives are worth thousands of dollars. Aaron. How not to place your bed position and feng shui for a restful sleep. Okay. You're gonna just call him this guy? I don't know who the fuck this guy is. Metal Complex?
How to place a bed in feng shui. First golden rule. Never point your feet towards the door. This makes you very vulnerable and it also means that you will die. Never sleep against a window because it means that there is no support and the birds and the monkeys can attack you from behind. You could possibly use a curtain to block the back, but it will shroud your room in darkness. Never sleep with your head against the door because this means all the energy from the door will attack your face, ensuring a restless night. Never sleep between two doors because the path of movement around your bed will also make your sleeping experience very restless and unpeaceful. Never sleep against a toilet because the toilet energy will make you sick in the form of moldy water and damp. You could put your bed over here if it's far from the toilet, or you could put your bed over here if you can put some kind of protection or a big nightstand next to your bed to make the door feel further away. If you don't mind being single for life, you could put your bed over here, which is alright. If you must put your bed over here, you must actually erect an entire wall in front of your bed so that you will not die. So now you know.
I'm not sure if that was a shitpost or not. Check the channel. Just plays with beds. How to place your desk for feng shui?
Hi guys, it's Tiff again, and today we're talking about how to place your desk in feng shui. How to place your desk in feng shui. So here I have a desk, nice laptop and chair, and how to place it in.
Are these 3D printed little things?
In this room. Now this is a very straightforward question, but with a very not straightforward answer. As you know, feng shui is all about giving you the best possible environment for yourself so you can thrive and flourish. And to do this, we acknowledge all the different energies around you, from the door, the window, as well as the little blank walls. All these things play a part in how you feel in a space. This gives you this sense of command and control of your space and also receiving good opportunities and good energy. So here is our room. Where is the best place to put my desk? Very simply, like that. This is known as
Yeah, that's not what I did. That'd be like over there in this room. Because, like, this room is exactly laid out like that. Like, this room is exactly this layout. Because I got a window right there. I got the door right here. Like, it's literally like, this is the room. And he's telling me my streaming station should be back there. I was kind of thinking about that. But I do like to be able to walk straight into the room and then just sit down. Well, we'll see what he says about this spot right here, but right here is where I got mine.
as a command position, a wall here to symbolize support, protection. Nobody can pounce on you from behind. You can see the window with all its good energy and opportunities. The door is where things come in, business can come to you. So you want to see both the window and the door, nice energy. And also this one is also, the door also can be like, you know, people can come and attack you. So you want to be able to see where they are coming from.
How much of feng shui is freaking out about people coming in and attacking you?
So without a doubt, this is the command position of the room. Very straightforward. And I'm sorry, the video is over. Thank you. But this is not so straightforward because let's say you can't put your desk like this or there are other external influences.
Well, I mean, I gotta have
For
my
example,
painting stuff out.
If my wall was not so, my window was not so big, let's say my window was just here. Suddenly, working in the command position is not so nice anymore because I cannot see the window. It's very dark. I'm in this dark corner. What to do? Then you could always place your desk forward like this so you can see the window and see the door. But this is a complicated question because this raises more questions. When you sit here, you are right against the door, which can be quite distracting. People can come into you. Then it also depends on what's over here. If this was the end of the corridor, by the way, this exercise is assuming you cannot close the door. Imagine you have a cat and your cat has to come in and...
I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of helpful. Like, less as a, like, feng shui thing, but, like, more just, like, room layout. Like, really getting into the brass tacks of room layout shit. Like, that kind of makes sense. I mean, I always, like, do position myself in a way that, like, I have easy... This is part of, like, just me growing up the way I did, but I always set up, like, when I go into a room and I have to decide where I want to be, like, I always make sure that I've got, like, my back up against the wall and I know where the door is. The door needs to be, like, accessible, but it doesn't have to be close. So if I'm going to sit somewhere, I'm going to sit, like, here in a room, if the door is here, or like here, and there could be all sorts of shit in here, but I'm gonna sit on an edge, that way I can see where the fuck he's literally mapping out Rev's room. Yeah, I mean, like, I do freak out about it being attacked. And like the stuff he was saying about putting the bed here, like, and like the bathroom being over there, and that this like going around like this would be distracting. Yeah, I get it. I've never been up on feng shui, but I've never really looked into it.
Out, or your kids will knock on your door all the time. So you have to keep your door open.
I mean, I have to keep my door open for the most part, except for when my wife gets home.
For example, hypothetically, you have to keep your door open. If this was the end of the corridor, great, I don't mind this because it's not distracting. However, if this door was in the middle of this big corridor, people walking back and forth like that, very busy, very hectic, very distracting, suddenly it might actually be better to sit over here. It also depends. If this was an open corridor with a nice big window and a nice view, sunny view over here, and there's a wall blocking the view over there, then actually this is without a doubt the much better way to sit. So you see, with all these external changes, suddenly the answer is clear. You must sit like that. Wall behind you, you see out the view and the nice sunlight and all this nice good energy like that. Then it gets even more complicated. What if this was not nice energy? Let's say this was like a horrible, like a corridor kind of attacking you from the end, like just a straight thing. Then it's like not great anymore. What to do, right? Well, the answer is still the same. You will still face like this because high energy is also something that you want to look out for. So if there's a lot of energy...
I've always taken when they said energy to mean something else. But when he's talking about energy here, he's not talking about it as like some spiritual force, I don't think. Like, he's talking about energy as in like people are passing through this area. This man explains basic room layout like it's divine. I know, that's why it's so enthralling. It's like, yeah, he's kind of fucking right, isn't he?
You hear people walking back and forth, you still want to look at that, even though it means there's no view. But
I also prefer it if I prefer having my left side facing a door. I'm actually weirdly, like, anal about, like, room placement stuff. Not, like, in, like, decorating or anything, but just, like, I need to know my escape route in every fucking room. And it's because there's something wrong with my brain. It's a lot of PTSD shit. But, like, I do have to make sure that I have, like... You know, I can access the out and I can defend the out, you know? Like, whichever way is the out of my room. I do not like my back facing the door at all. I don't like having my window open. Like, a lot of this is just like random shit that's happened to my brainstem.
What if this was an amazing view that you cannot miss? The view of the sea, view of the sun, and there's all these things. What to do? Then you have to sit like this.
It's called anxiety.
You really don't want to miss out on good energy when it comes to working. So I put my desk like that, with my back towards the corridor. This is horrible. Then you can use little feng shui cures, like having a little mirror, little shiny mirror, to put that, to kind of warn you, so you can have a little rear view mirror to check if someone's going to attack you or not. Now let's say my window is going to be much bigger, like this, right? Bigger again.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Then suddenly, I can place my desk like this. Because now I can actually see out the window, or I can be my command position, which is the best, like originally said. But let's say you can't put your desk like this. You have big screens, or you have cables.
I also prefer to put myself closer to doors than my wife. That's the other thing. I have to be able to get out, and I have to be able to be between like his, like the outside world and my wife. So that way, if something were to happen, I can defend her as well. She doesn't pick up on it at all, because it's like, why would you? But like, I do like ask for like specific booths and shit. It's weird. It is an anxiety thing.
Then you can put your desk like that. That's fine. Or let's say you want a very, very large desk. Maybe that is the criteria here. Then with the larger window, this is actually fine. Then there's this other consideration. What happens outside the room? For example, if this was a room that's like that, you have to enter this big room to get to your office, this would be fine. But what if I change things a little bit and I move this room to be like that? Oops, like this. Then suddenly you realize that people will be coming from behind you and you feel vulnerable. See, so simple. Just this little shifting of the outside space changes this completely, and now suddenly...
Like, not... Okay. I could see myself actually getting into this as like a concept, like not as like any of the mysticism or anything like that, like, but just like, oh, this is about like threat assessment shit. This is like, it's bizarre. I never thought about it like this, but it's a threat assessment thing.
You are better off.
It seems
like
very
this.
common sense past the spiritual shit.
With my room like this part of the part outside the door.
It kind of reminds me a lot of like military sweeping stuff. Like when you come into a room, depending on the layout of the room changes how you like come into it to attack it, and depending on what like your personal like style of movement for your squad or your fire team is, depends on like that stuff. But like the idea that like this angle is bad because like you've got your back facing the door, like yeah, like you can check the corners from here. Like if you're standing here, you can see these two corners and this corner sort of. So the only corner of this room you can't see, which is how you breach a room, is you check the corners. And depending on like what your position is in the stack, depends on which corner your job is to take. But like, it's so,
It's also much more quiet than before because you can only see this part and you can see everybody in front of you. So you realize how all these external things can totally affect the way you arrange your room. And so
I guess that means that I need to move my desk like, I mean, it's a little weird, but I'd have to move my desk like 5 feet backwards if I'm understanding this guy's theories correctly. That would put the door ahead of me and to the left. It would put the... Will you actually move your desk? I have no idea how to do that easily. I need to move it a little bit because I've got this carpet down, but the carpet's like not under the desk. So like when I scoot back or forth with my rolling chair, it picks up the thing. Cable management sucks when you're not against the wall. I mean, that's the other thing, is there's going to be a whole bunch of cables that just run across the room. And like, I need some area to paint. Like, I do need to have like a painting area. So that's kind of what that is. I also haven't done a new painting for this week, so.
Like, go back to basics. There's 4 options for how to place this desk. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's say we cannot float the desk. Which one is better? This one is bad because the view is behind you and you miss out all that nice energy. This one is bad because you're very distracted by the door. This one is bad because there's energy coming from behind you, but you can still see the window. And this one is very bad because people can attack you from behind and you have no idea. So of these 4 options, this one is the best, but as you can see, many things can govern this decision. For example, if this window was smaller, then suddenly this is no longer good, and then we come back to like ground zero on how we arrange this room. So as you can see, in Feng Shui, it's not so simple, very, very complicated, but at least you know the concept, so now you know.
I am actually often concerned about assassins. I mean, yeah, if you're doing spiritualism stuff and you need an altar, like altar placement is also very specific for energy and facings and stuff. Do you face north, south, whatever? I mean, alternatively, from what he was saying, I could just put a wall here, right? Scary bodega in central Pennsylvania. All right. Let's make this the last video of the day because I do want to get a little bit of art done. Scary bodega in central Pennsylvania. Oh, that might be copyrighted music. I'm just gonna mute the desktop audio for a sec. And I'll unmute it once there's things that aren't.
Oh my god, that's a playpen. Dude, we're in the back wall. Playpen? Slot machines.
Oh no. Oh, those are gross.
On stream. I didn't throw up on stream. I ate it beforehand. See what it would be like. I'll get a second one for stream. Dude, that's the back walls food. That is the shit that does not exist in the real world. We will leave this store and never see this item again.
What the fuck was that? Toffee. Toffee and something? Toffee Crunch. Yeah, there's a little bodega around here that's like this. And it's like... It's really weird because like when you go in and they say, oh, we have like sandwiches and we have like groceries. And it's like, no, they don't.
This item again. Like, only $40.
That's actually pretty cheap for a bike.
Like, yeah. Yeah. No, I think I might. I don't think I can leave this here. What do you mean, Buffy the Musical? What do you mean, NSYNC Home for Christmas? What do you mean? There's a this was just in one of the CDs.
What is it?
Ledger balance, $158. Desperate Housewives, like the first season. Oh my god.
Is it a receipt?
Two DVD set. Oh my god. I'm like skipping the president, the legend. Ghouls and goblins.
Helter Skelter? Bongs? Dude, not gonna lie, there's a place around here called Martin's. Martin's is like this, but imagine it was the size of like an American supermarket. Like, you never know what the fuck you're gonna get there. Yeah, this kind of does look like Blue Lick Road. That sounds so unhinged and overstimulating. It is. Like, I did have a bit of like, we were trying to figure out if we were going to actually be able to afford to get into this place, like this apartment. And like, we get the okay. We've been like not sleeping well because we've been sleeping in this like fucking rundown motel, right? And so we went to Martin's to get like towels and shit, right? And like, you should try to do an IRL stream in the Martins. Maybe. I mean, it would dox me, I think. You will find things at Martins that, like, I legitimately, I found a stream deck there. It was in a display case next to, I believe, like a car muffler. The car muffler was like used, but the stream deck was brand new. I think a video of going to Martin's would be actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna link my new album.
But it is just kind of like shat onto the shelves like this, but there's so much more stuff. I mean, it kind of just looks like a thrift store, too. Is that a weed testing kit? What the fuck? Oh, wow. That probably sounds like ass.
I made this triple guitar pick and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. But then I couldn't stop. So I turned it into 6 picks, a 10 pick, a 20 pick, a 30 pick, and then 100, and then 1,000. And you want to know why? Mental health issues. But also,
yes.
I wanted to know, what's the perfect amount? Let's start with 0 guitar picks. This would sound a lot better with 1 guitar pick. Wow, but does that mean that combining 2 picks is even better? This will be interesting. It sounds crazy clean whenever you have to play 2 strings next to each other versus a regular pick.
Oh, that's wild.
Instead of dragging the strings, you can pluck them at the exact same time.
That's wild. It makes it more like a mandolin.
One particular riff. Compare this. But besides this, a double guitar pick, it's kinda lame. So let's move on to the triple pick, also called a fork. Triple pick, let's go. Ooh, that's kind of satisfying. Plucking all 3 strings at the same time. It's pretty cool. But what happens if we space them apart more?
It's kind of got like a flamenco thing because of the...
Made a cultural appropriation pick because whatever I touch sounds like flamenco guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's doing the... When you do flamenco, you strum your... I have this video. I saw some things about like how to do flamenco really well.
When it says remove card.
Let's see. Can I just look at the short itself without the... Whatever. All right, check this out. This is flamenco, right? On how to do that style of stuff. Please don't play Buckethead.
No one cares. But spacing them out even more would just be kind of silly. Like, there's no way there's any kind of use area for that. Ta-da!
Jesus.
The first ever double neck guitar pick. When I pick this, I pick both of the necks at the same time.
I really like this flavor of crazy. I would really like to see like an acoustic version of I was actually thinking about this when I was listening to that flamenco. I started thinking about the beginning of The Lake by Bathory, and I was like, not like the very, very beginning, but like the dun 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 dun, that bit that you could do with that flamenco style on acoustic, and it would probably sound fucking good as shit. I love like directed, unhinged nature stuff like that. That's why I fucking put out the Communist Manifesto with giant tits. Like it's just like fucking around, like insane energy done by people with like a certain level of skill is always so fun to me. It's like one of my favorite bits.
It's so powerful when this neck is added to it. It's like some kind of like reverb almost. And now that with two necks.
He's also got this one, this is like a 12 string on top, and then he's got a 6 string below. So like it already has that doubled sound from the double strings.
But now let's jump straight to 6 guitar picks. It's like you're strumming the guitar but with no motion of your hand.
Oh, that sounds awful.
And that means you can play Wonderwall without barely moving your hand. I'm bored of this. I want to set a world record. And the thing with world records is that you have to make them dumb enough that no one would have ever tried it before. And that's my speciality. So for 10 guitar picks, let's attempt the longest continuous guitar strum. And here's the plan. The first pick strums all the strings, but as soon as it's done, the next picking line is perfectly spaced to take over seamlessly. In engineering, there's a saying that if it works, it works. Yeah, this didn't work.
Nope.
But the second design... Damn it, it's too bouncy. Also didn't work. We need to make a...
Yeah, you gotta make it way more rigid.
So much. For the third design, we're taking inspiration from bridges because they have some of the most reliable and rigid designs ever. Check this out. It's like the coolest violin bow. Are you ready for the longest guitar strum ever done on guitar? Let's go. We can play an entire chord progression with one down strum. It never ends. Guess it sounds like you're listening to a relaxing guitar playlist. Actually,
does it?
Maybe hold that thought. And let me tell you about my favorite web browser and sponsor of this video, Opera.
That's cute. Anyway.
Ever. And you also support my channel. Thank you. I'm so annoyed that the peak of guitar pick experiments is still taping one single pick on a fishing reel. Like when I scroll these videos, I don't feel a thing. Okay, that one didn't count. So for 30 guitar picks, let's level up this concept so even the local fisherman can obliterate the world record in speed picking. I'm pretty sure I just made a computer fan when I think about it.
Now let's try it.
Yeah, this is how you get that like black metal / surfer rock like drrrr.
How can it sound so bad? Actually, it's simple. If we 30x the picks, we also 30x the pick noise. Question is, how do we solve it?
Listen to this. And now compare this. The answer is thumbs, and we're going to need 30 of them.
No, wait, we could also see if my 3D printer can cook with something that is softer than this. That would probably be easier. I previously fed him this,
yeah,
but we're going to try to feed this. You see how soft it is? This should be fairly close to mimic the softness of a thumb. Wait, if this is here, what's in my microwave?
No! And after a lot more of trial and error, we got it.
It's so soft. Okay, I really hope these soft guitar picks works better. Let's listen. That's way better.
That is a lot better,
let's
yeah.
go for the slowest I can physically do.
The world record is 23 picks per second, and we just hit 30.
I barely need to move my hand, but I'm still the fastest guitar player in the world. Faster? This is so fast. I can't hear the individual notes anymore. We have transcended the human ear.
I mean, that's the way sound and rhythm and pitch are inherently linked. I learned about that recently. Like, I really like conceptualized that in my brain recently, and it is fucking wild. Like, this is what's happened. Check this out. So this is a pulse at 130 beats per second in a 4/4 pattern. Check this out. It stops being like its own individual sounds anymore, and now it's a note. A very low note. And the same thing happens in reverse if you take a note, like a tone of any kind. Need to find a good tone. Choir? There we go. Well, that's probably too, like, low. Let's get something, like, a little bit higher. Okay, that's a little easier to hear. So if we put this here, audio cloud. All right, and then if we drag this out, it goes from sounding like Wolfram Tones type beat. Welcome by. All right, how do you stretch it out again? Is it Control? Forget. Alt? I don't know. Regardless, the point is that, like, when you slow down something like this, it starts turning into rhythm after a while. That rhythm and tone are the same thing, Because it's just a different style of pulse done at a different speed. Wild. Wild, man. You're unzipping the tone. Isn't that cool? The little triangle in the corner. Make a unique sample. Yeah. And they, oh, not like that. Yeah, I don't think I can actually, like, that just adjusts the pitch and volume. Oh, well. It's weird. It's very weird. So, yeah, at a certain point, if you go past plucking sounds fast enough, eventually you'll get... What? I milked 1,000 spiders to make guitar strings. Jesus Christ.
Obliterate the world record, but it was weirdly hard to keep the guitar in place.
If there's a fire and I have to escape and someone sees me like this, attached to a guitar with a fishing rod, I don't know what to say. This should give us less movement of the guitar. Okay, I think this is way better. Yes, finally. Whew. That was the world record by far. I'm very happy.
I mean,
with
sure,
that.
yeah.
Let's move all the way up to 100 picks for the biblically accurate guitar pick. Because what wouldn't sound more heavenly than a design from the man himself?
100 dicks?
Wow. What? Free license, no commercial use. Rough times. Anyway, let's recreate the design. This will be historical. Are you ready for the biblically accurate Wonderwall? Smells like Teen Spirit, Deep Clean Edition. The pick noise is like
I have seen it hurdy-gurdy.
I'm actually surprised it's remotely playable. Like, that was kind of accurate almost. Some sweet
It sounds like ass.
I mean, deep cleaning.
And that's what
it's basically just a horse brush.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean. I see no similarity at all. But what is actually better? Horse brush versus the biblical guitar pick. Maybe this is the biblical version for horses. That's really good.
Yeah, that's honestly kind of better than the pick.
I hate to say this, but horse brush wins.
Yeah.
At least the pick can't fall inside the guitar like a regular pick.
I mean, that's true.
No.
I fucking hate it when that happens.
Oh shit, no!
You broke it?
It broke.
Yeah.
My guitar.
Let's move on to the finale of 1,000 guitar picks. I'm actually not sure how though, because holding 100 picks is already extremely hard and we need 10 times more. So what if we mount it onto something else, so we don't have to hold it? We could do guitar pick wall art and then grind against it like a cow. Nah, that feels like cheating. I have a new idea. If the last pick was biblical, let's make this finale straight out of hell. The idea is that the picks will spin under the strings and we push down the strings into this mess to play them. This design sounded easy in my head, but it turned out to be a nightmare. And it wasn't because I had to completely redesign the guitar from scratch for this to work out. It was that the design software kept crashing because of the amount of guitar picks in the design. But after 1 week of moving something and then waiting 10 minutes for it to stop lagging, let me show you what I cooked up in my garage.
Really enjoying that Chad music.
The first pick out of 1,000. Let's
Oh,
go.
God.
As we learned earlier, soft guitar picks is going to be our only chance of this sounding remotely like an instrument. Issue with that is that I need to print and glue them separately. And gluing one pick is fast, but fast multiplied by 1,000 is slow. But after 8 hours...
It's addicting. I just want to touch it like it's a little kid. But yeah, based on the initial sounds, we're pretty fucked. It sounds horrible.
It sounds like nothing.
So what should I do? A. Try to make it sound good since this is after all a music channel, or B. Put a motor on it.
Yes.
Whoa, this is amazing. Whoa. And now when we got all essentials, let's find out, is 1000 guitar picks...
What is... Okay. What's that? Like, look at where my mouse is. Oh, fuck.
Whoa, this is amazing. Whoa.
What's going on right here? Like, look at how the string's bent there. And it's the string is bent, right? It's not the fret markers or anything. He might have some issues with it not being like fully tightened, but it's like, so this thing acts as like it's almost like a whammy bar, but shit.
And now when we got all essentials, let's find out, is 1000 guitar picks actually better than just one?
That's a lot of guitar
Look at that bend, it's still there.
This is good.
Maybe it's like when the strings are deployed, it's tightened to an actual note, like that would be E. Yeah, the string shouldn't look like that.
But it's an instrument. It needs to sound good too. And that's usually where I'm lacking. We will find out right now. If anyone wants to play along, I will put tabs on screen. Let's go. That's not even the fastest. This is the fastest.
Whoa.
That's the fastest Mr. you're ever going to hear in your entire life.
I did some calculations and this is crazy. A string is getting picked 5,000 times per second.
I will play all the strings at once. I guess in theory I could play a chord like this. Like in theory everything works, but I'm not sure that's
I think you've made a shittier hurdy-gurdy. Oh yeah, no, the picks are shredding almost on impact with the like you can see them getting shredded off here, but you can also see like the little bits of dust that are getting flown around. It's easier in actually some of the other ones. Oh yeah, this is stupid as shit, but he's having fun and he's not hurting anyone. And I feel like we all learned something today. I think it's something to do with like following your dreams. I'm not entirely sure though. No worries, later on.
Let's spin it very slowly, okay? That's actually way better. It has a good rhythm to it. If we increase the speed just a little bit, I feel like that could be something. See how slow it spins, but it's still picking like... I will find something good with this. Just give me 5 years and I will figure it out. By the way, I will answer 1,000 comments on this video, so let me know your best video ideas so we don't end up like this again. Oh, that's the wrong direction. The thing is, with the thin strings, the picks doesn't seem to like grab as well, like with the friction, so we don't get any notes at all. Let's try Through the Fire and Flames. It's very hard to switch between strings because to play it, you push down pretty hard on the string that you want to play.
I think that if you try and make... Like, I think you could use this as a real instrument. Like, you would play something like you would, like, hurdy-gurdy. I mean, it sounds pretty awful when you actually try and play guitar music with it. Yeah, I mean, like, well, no, I think that you could make this like a drone and then put other shit on top of it, because when he's doing this like really slow one here,
on this video, so let me know your best video ideas so we don't end up like this again. Oh, that's the wrong direction. The thing is, with the thin strings, the picks doesn't seem to like grab
This
as
bit-
well, like with the friction, so we don't get any notes at all. Let's try Through the Fire and Flames. World's fastest smoke on... World's fastest smoke on the water. It's so nice with all the airflow. Way better as a fan than actual music. It's not that much that sounds bearable. What do we even do with this? Oh yeah, that's good.
Might consider this a failure, but if you think about it, it's actually a great success, because this guitar truly does create sounds straight out of hell.
All the strings at once, max speed. So the final question, what is the optimal amount of guitar picks? I would rank them like this: double neck pick, fishing reel, and then this. But over them all, this is the winner.
A regular ass pick.
I need medical assistance. My Discord, it's dying. Please join it. Also, check out this video.
Oh, all right. Yeah. I've seen this guy's stuff. I've seen like the multiple pick things that he made, but interesting. Restream's having a conniption? What's it doing? Just look at his channel. I mean, it's a lot of like that kind of stuff. There's some wild stuff in there. Like, don't, but also yes. I love this shit, man. I think I'm gonna have to go, the on-screen chat is frozen. The lightning piano? Oh, that, yeah. I think there's some issues with it. I'm gonna go ahead and actually, like, call it a day now. We're gonna come back with more shit tomorrow. We should do another one of these tomorrow. Just keep adding to the other thread, and anything that I haven't caught in the threads that are available on the Discord, I'll check through those, and I'm gonna go do some research on Godot and try and get a little bit more work done on that, and maybe record some lines for this week. I don't know. I might be a little late tomorrow as well because of the same thing, just having to record stuff for arcade. But anyway, I'll see you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, and I'm gonna raid someone. So don't leave.